Welcome to this week's Lunch and Learn Live. My name is Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor, and I am excited to kick this off. I love it that you guys are here. If you're not familiar, The College Investor talks about money and education on the internet, and we have been doing this since 2009. This week, we are lucky to have Student Choice Student Loans sponsoring this live Lunch and Learn Q&A. If you are a prospective college student going to school this fall, you should check out Student Choice and their education line of credit. It's the only tool in the industry that allows you to borrow for all 4 years of college with just one application. We're going to talk about them a little bit more throughout this live, but I definitely want to get this thing started and answer your questions. You guys know how this works. You can drop your questions in the chat. You can ask to come up on stage, and love to kick this thing off. What's up, Sean? It's really nice to see friendly faces in here. So yeah, we're going to share this out. We're going to let the algorithm work a little bit to get this out. Questions in the chat or come on stage. All right. Get this launched. Okay, guys. Let's get some sound effects on the screen. And we will get this thing started. I think the big news this week, if you guys have not been paying attention, is the big changes to student loans are launching July 1st. And today we had the Undersecretary of Education on our podcast. Had some great information on what the Safe Plan transition looks like and some other kind of intersection of policy and practical. So I encourage you to check out that podcast. Ediberto, welcome. Hello, it's nice to see you. Lexi, welcome. We will get this thing going. If you guys have a question, you guys drop them in there. Hello. Let me keep sharing this thing out here. I have noticed some issues with the FAFSA system these last few days. Ediberto, what are you noticing? I'm curious to hear it. I know they have the real-time FAFSA now, and so I haven't heard of any glitches, but have you seen some issues with the new real-time FAFSA? Because a lot of updates happened in the last week, but I haven't seen them yet. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. And if you guys are just joining us, we are just getting this Lunch and Learn going. We're going to go for the next couple hours here. Katie and SG, Tom and Leslie, welcome. All right, our Cornet, my payment doubles in 12 months. I'm on income-based repayment plan. What do I do before the payment increases? Hey, that's a great question. I don't know if you saw my video from a couple days back, but a lot of people get scared when they get that letter, and that letter says their payment for 12 months, and then it jumps up significantly for the next 12 months. And the key is, our Cornet, you have to recertify your income every single year. And so you're going to get a letter at about the 9 or 10 month mark. And it's going to say you need to submit your new income documentation and show what your income is. And so you do that on time, and they will recalculate your payments. And then the next 12 months will be based on whatever your payments are at that given time. So don't get super freaked out about that letter. If you haven't seen my video, I mean, it's maybe like 5 days old at this point in time. And I walk through exactly what that letter means and what you should do. SG Tom, 25K loan that I can't pay. What should I do? You should definitely get on an income-driven repayment plan if you're not. And then what's your payment and what are we trying to close on that gap? Lexi says, my payment is increasing in August, and what can I do to reduce this monthly payment? Well, again, it's all your repayment plan. So is it correct? Number one, what repayment plan are you on? Are you on IBR? Are you on pay-as-you-earn? Are you going to look for the wrap plan? Part two is, Is it correct? Did you certify your income? Did you end up defaulting back to the standard repayment plan? Is it valid? We have our student loan calculators here so you can understand what your payments should be. But when I see that and people are like, I didn't know I needed to recertify and whatnot. So, hey, Sherry, thanks for all the hearts. I appreciate it. Adalberto, my son's going to UCLA and has docs messed up. UCLA is not even one of the schools set to receive his info. Last month, everything was fine. It doesn't really seem like that big of an info or an issue. That's kind of weird, though, that they would get it. So, was there an actual technical issue that is impacting you for the school that you're trying to go to? I'm curious on that one. Leslie, the loan simulator has me confused. Starting payment 474, ending payment 249. Leslie, what income-driven repayment plan or repayment plan did you choose? It also might be that ending payment is like a little half month, or like you've paid for 239 payments, and then the 240th is just a little half one because of math. So, graduated payment. That is confusing. So Leslie, I will give you my warning that I give to everybody on the graduated repayment plan. A lot of people are seduced by it. They're seduced by it because when they put the numbers in the loan simulator or any calculator, it has a low payment today, and it might be the lowest payment you have today. But I will tell you that not nobody, it's like literally less than 0.1% of people finish paying their student loans on the graduated repayment plan. And this is why I call the graduated repayment plan the actual trap. So you start low and then it gets higher, right? And by the time you get 4 years in or 6 years in and your payments are rising, you start to realize that this is going to be a problem financially. And at that point in time, you've already been on this plan for 4 or 6 years, and you could have been on income-based repayment or the repayment assistance plan, which might have given you maybe a slightly higher payment up front, but it's going to definitely give you a lower payment once that graduated plan rises. But you have lost 4 or 6 or 8 years of time that you could have been accruing towards loan forgiveness, right? The IBR plan is 20 years for new borrowers. The repayment assistance plan will be 30 years, but you lost 6 years, 8 years, whatever it happens to be until you get to that point in time. And so I really, really don't like people getting in the graduated plan. It's deceptive, and people really get injured financially on it. They don't get injured financially year 1. They get injured financially on it year 6, year 8, somewhere in there. And I've seen this story hundreds of times, Leslie. So don't be seduced by that low payment. Maybe take the IBR payment that might be $20, $40 a month more today. All right. Very weird. Always fine. Now you can't even see what he will get. His SAI decreased by 4,000. I have not heard of any of this issue with FAFSA, Adalberto. I would be concerned on making sure that your information's updated, your passwords are updated. You can't see your information. It's all very interesting. I would also make sure you're checking the right year of the FAFSA. Are you pulling up 2025, 2026, 2027 school year? Just make sure you're in the right page of the federal student aid website. Miranda, I'm under save, and I was told my payment schedule would start on 11/27/2028. Should I enroll in a program? So, Miranda, that is a placeholder date. It's not going to apply to you. No one is going to stick into it until November of 2028. In fact, the plan officially dies well before then. You're going to have to choose a repayment plan within 90 days of July 1st, depending on what your individual timeline is. You should plan on changing repayment plans in July, August, or September. So you're not going to be able to wait that long, Marina. User, I have a Parent Plus loan through Mohila that my son has defaulted on. How can I get out of this? User, I think it's important to realize that Parent Plus loans are your loans. Your son has no legal obligation to it. And so when you say he defaulted on it, I just want to make sure you understand that you defaulted on it, not him, and he's not legally required to pay it, to do anything with it, and it's your loan. With that being said, because you're in default, you have 2 options to resolve the default. Well, you really have 3 options. Pay it off if you wanted to, you probably would have done that one already. The other two are consolidation and rehabilitation. Rehabilitation allows you to make 9 payments that are going to be income based at 15%. And then once you make those 9 payments, they'll remove the default from your credit and you can re-enroll in an income driven repayment plan. Rehabilitation is really nice because it removes that default. It will allow you to qualify again for federal student aid. It'll allow you to get like an FHA loan, things like that, that you're prohibited to by defaulting on federal debt. If you don't care about those things and you just want the fastest solution, consolidation is the fastest solution. Consolidate your Parent Plus loan in 30 to 45 days. You will be back in a repayment plan and you can begin repayment on that Parent Plus loan. All right. Firefly, do you have to do recertification for both IDR and PSLF separately? Hey, great question, Firefly. And the answer is yes, because they're separate things. So I always call your income-driven repayment plan is your repayment plan. And you got to certify your income every year. I like to call PSLF the sidecar. So it runs alongside your repayment plan. And that one, you're certifying your employment. And then IDR plans, you're certifying your income. The income and your repayment plan, of course, is the one that like is super important, but your PSLF employment certification, it's important for PSLF, but they're separate things. JM, I don't know what your question relates to what we're talking about, but I like it. Morena, what is the best program to enroll in if I'm in SAVE? Well, I don't know about the best for you, but you have 3 options. You have the standard plan, you have IBR, you have RAP. We have our calculators linked in bio, and you can go run the numbers and understand. SG Tom payments will begin November 2028. It shows on the Nelnet website. SG Tom, that's a placeholder date. If you're in the SAVE forbearance, you're not going to be in it until November 2028. They're going to start sending notices on July 1st, and you're going to have 90 days from your notice. And you can watch my video today. I share more, and then you can listen to our podcast that we just dropped today as well with the Undersecretary of Education, where we walk through what that timeline is going to look like for borrowers. Sarah, have you heard about the glitch where when you switch repayment plans, it's showing $50? Yeah, that's just a glitch, Sarah. I think it's mostly resolved at this point in time. I haven't seen anyone with it. I wouldn't even worry about it. I would make sure that you know what your payment plan is supposed to be by running your numbers. And if your actual payment plan, when it posts, is significantly different from what it's supposed to be, then I would call and figure out what's going on. Just because you got that initial $50 letter, most people get like 2 or 3 letters when they enroll in repayment plans. Firefly, I'm glad we could troubleshoot that for you. And then SG Tom, I think I got you already. That's a placeholder date. Levon, are there any recommendations that borrowers should complete when completing their final loan payment, especially the final loan payments made while still in SAVE forbearance? Yeah, Levon. So congrats, first off. I think we should give Levon a cheer because loans is fantastic. Part 2, though, is you want to call your loan servicer and you want to request a payoff date. And you want to request that payoff date for, I don't know, let's just say that you're trying to pay it off this week. I would request a payoff date for June 30th, like a couple weeks out, because interest is accruing on your student loan every day. And let's just say you like submit that deposit today. By the time it clears, you might have had another $7 added to your loan. And then you just get in this vicious cycle of trying to pay off like $10 here, $20 here, and you never get done. My recommendation is choose a repayment or a payoff date a couple weeks out. Make the payment well before that payoff date, and then you just get a refund check in the mail for like $20. And that way you know your loan is paid off. Yeah, you're waiting on a refund check for like $20, but like whatever, at least you're paid off with your student loans. So congrats, Levon. That is phenomenal, and I hope that helps. Harleen, no, I have not played Skyrim. SG Tom, can I ask for forgiveness? My degree is worthless. So SG Tom, there's a ton of student loan forgiveness programs out there, but they require you to do something, and none of them are based on your degree, right? 75% of Americans don't work in the field that their degree was in. That's just basic stuff, right? So some of the most popular programs, right, are public service loan forgiveness, teacher loan forgiveness, time-based loan forgiveness tied to your repayment plan. You also have like the death and disability discharge, really total and permanent disability discharge. You have a bunch of states that offer state-based student loan repayment assistance for working in certain fields or taking certain actions. You have employers that are offering student loan repayment assistance programs. So there's a lot of options there, Tom, and I think a lot of Americans feel the same way. Their degree really is worthless, and the stats kind of show that 75% of people don't even use their college degree when they're said and done. Leslie, 79 qualifying payments, but current job doesn't count for PSLF. The standard plan is 614. So Leslie, that's a tough spot. So you kind of have to just do some math right now and decide what can you afford and what your goal is. You're 40 payments away from PSLF. So what, 3.5 years, almost 4 years, 12, 24. Yeah, that's right. Do you change jobs and go do that? Or do you just start focusing on repayment? Maybe your current job, paid you so much better than your public service job. And so you are, like in a better spot. But it really kind of just depends on what your goal is. And this is where like the financial planning piece comes in of you're trying to minimize your total student loan payments until you're done, while you're also trying to build wealth at the same time. And so I don't know what your holistic financial situation looks like, but really I would just sit down and do the math. And one, also understand if you can afford that 614, 686, 941, whatever it is you decide on doing. But if you're not going for loan forgiveness anymore because your financial situation has improved that much and your loan balance has continued to shrink, it's repayment time, and your real math goal is to minimize your total cost. Adalberto, family of 5 on my current, and I have a family of 6 next year. Congrats. How much will I save with a family of 6? Honestly, that's a big math question, Adalberto. We have a FAFSA calculator, and you can go calculate your estimated SAI. It's been updated for the 2026-2027 school year, so you can go put all your information in, add the extra kid, you can see what your SAI is going to be. My personal guess is it's probably not going to change extremely much from this year, but it should give you a little lower SAI as a result. Johnny, I'm currently in pay. Should I continue with minimal $10 monthly payments or snowball? Johnny, this is the most interesting question to me in the personal finance space, because you have the two camps, right? You got the loan forgiveness camp over here, which is about 50% of folks, and you got the repayment camp over here, which is about 50% of folks. And with that in mind, most people that are at a $0 or low dollar pay payment are trying to maximize loan forgiveness. I don't know where you're at in your timeline, Johnny, how many more years you have, and what your future payments look like, because you said you got it when you had low income and now maybe you have a lot of income. I don't know. If your goal, though, is forgiveness, you do not pay extra on your student loans, and instead you look at ways to lower your adjusted gross income. You could do that through contributing to a traditional IRA, a 401k or 403b, an HSA, and you want to make sure you're debt-free and you're investing and building wealth for yourself. That way, when you get your loan forgiveness, not only are you getting your loans forgiven, but you've built up a little nest egg along the way. With that being said, if your financial situation has turned for the better and you're in the camp of my pay payment's going to rise significantly and I'm making good money, then the debt snowball is a fantastic approach to getting debt free. All right. Dr. Big Spoon, what about student loan dismissal when states remove fields and departments from colleges? That's not any type of grounds for getting your student loans forgiven, Dr. Big Spoon. Colleges change their programs all the time. That doesn't mean that you necessarily were defrauded. So the general category that you are thinking about, I think, is called borrower defense to repayment. Borrower defense to repayment requires that you personally were defrauded by your school when you enrolled in said school. I will tell you that statistically, 0 public colleges have ever had a borrower defense claim succeed. So if you're talking about a public college, The answer is you're never going to get that. If you went to a for-profit college, you have a higher chance. And if you went to a private nonprofit, it's not quite zero, but it's pretty darn close to zero. With that being said, you need to bring the proof. You need to show that you enrolled in this program and they misled or defrauded you. And simply closing departments or changing majors or their offerings doesn't mean that you personally were defrauded by your college. Firefly, does buyback use your income for those tax years? Firefly, great question. So PSLF buyback uses your income for the calendar year that you are trying to buy back. So this is one of the reasons why I'm actually not a huge fan of buyback. I think most people are not going to see a huge benefit from it. And a lot of people have cost themselves so much time waiting for buyback when they likely would have been done with their loans, forgiven already, and probably at a lower cost than what they were trying to buy back at. So if you were to buy back for 2024 and 2025, they're going to ask for your tax returns for 2024 and 2025, and you're going to show your tax returns, and they're going to calculate your payments based on IBR or pay as you earn using those numbers. Here's why it's more expensive. If you would have just listened and enrolled in 2025, you would have actually been able to use your 2024 tax return, which could have been based on your 2023 income, to actually just make your payments under IBR. But now they're going to use your 2025 income in 2025. You're going to pay more for buyback than if you would have just actually been enrolled in IBR. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, stop counting on buyback. Plus the wait time of 2 years to 3 years. Most people are going to finish normally here in the next 8 months before they get their buyback application processed. A painting here? I don't have a painting here. Let's see. Totally off topic. Bernie, nice to meet you. Like over there, the bison? I don't know. Check that one out. You gotta thank my wife for the office decor. That's above my pay grade. Very nice to meet you. Above my pay grade. All right, guys. We are finally getting a good crew going on our Wednesday Lunch and Learn. Welcome. If you don't know who I am, my name is Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor, and I have been talking about higher education and personal finance on the internet since 2009. Myself and our team, this is what we do here. We're a news and media organization, and we talk about this weird intersection of money and education that I think many of you in the chat realize not a lot of people do talk about. So love to answer your questions today about student loans, financial aid, general personal finance, and financial literacy. And I'm really excited to say that this week's live Lunch and Learn Q&A is sponsored by Student Choice. So Student Choice is a network of credit unions that offer student loans. They also have the unique student loan product called an education line of credit. So if you're one of those folks that are looking for navigating and paying for college this fall, and you've already used your federal student loans, you can shop around, check out Student Choice, link in bio. And let's keep going and answering your questions here. Leslie says, I owe $20K more than when I graduated. I left college at $77K and I owe $92K with 79 payments. Yeah, so that's one of the big frustrating things that the RAP plan is trying to solve, right, guys? So the new Repayment Assistance Plan, I know a lot of people are like, 30 years. Yeah, the 30-year part sucks, but the part that doesn't suck is the no negative amortization. So as long as you make your full payment every month, even if that payment's $10, your loan balance will never grow. They will consistently waive the unpaid interest every month. Then they also have the principal matching subsidy. So they will match up to $50 a month. So if your payment doesn't go to principal at all, you will get your principal reduced every single month up to $50, which is really cool. I will say, if you actually were going for PSLF 100%, Leslie, like you figured out how to finish it, who cares, right? It's just, this is like the worst case scenario where you don't finish under PSLF and now you owe more as a result. That's where it's like, I don't know the whole story, Leslie, but it's like, if I would personally be looking for PSLF eligible employment, because I would view it as a $90,000 bonus to just finish PSLF. Mitch, do I have to pay the interest on Parent Plus loans now, or can I wait until my kids are out of school? Hey, great question, Mitch. So when you sign up for your Parent Plus loan, you make a decision. You make a decision to defer the loan while in school or to enter repayment immediately. With that being said, if you defer the loan in school, you can still make additional payments on the loan and pay off the interest as you go. It's not going to be a like set monthly thing, but you are more than welcome to. I would encourage you, Mitch, as a financial person that is trying to help you be wealthier, I would pay the loans while you're in school. These are your loans. You are borrowing under the new rules, so there are no income-driven repayment plans. There are no public service loan forgiveness options. Like, this is as straight of a loan as you're ever going to get. So it's like, it's only going to cost you more money to defer while you're in school. And Mitch, you better not tell me, yeah, you did defer, but you better not tell me you're asking your child to pay, because like that would break my heart. You don't want to take money from your 22-year-old when they need it the most in life, when I'm guessing you're 50s or 60s and you're venturing towards retirement. Like, don't F your kid to better yourself. Like, you're supposed to do it the other way around. You're supposed to F yourself to better your kids. Adalberto, if your two kids have different FAFSAs, it's because either they made different amounts of money or they have different amounts of money in their checking or savings account. Remember, child assets count more than parent assets on the FAFSA. Very nice. Yep. The woman. I don't know what the woman is. I don't know. All right. Have we figured out if the pay plan will or won't be available after July 1st? KMF. Great question. And so Jay, the student loan lawyer, made a great video on this, and I have asked everybody, and everybody has a different opinion on it. So this is my spiel about it. Studentaid.gov clearly says you have until July 1st, 2027. That's what studentaid.gov says. However, the final rules that go into effect on July 1st, 2026 clearly say that pay is not an eligible plan moving forward. Like many things, the question becomes, what is the Department of Education going to enforce? What are their loan servicers going to do? Maybe they follow what they have on studentaid.gov and allow you to go until July 1st, 2027. Maybe they require you to be enrolled in it by July 1st, 2026. My take here is, if pay is where you want to be because it saves you money compared to IBR or RAP, you should just be enrolled in it right now. You're literally splitting hairs over maybe 2 months of payments here at this point in time, because you're going to have to choose a new repayment plan in July or August. Yeah, you could push it to September. But also, if pay is that beneficial to you, it ends at the end of 2027, early 2028. So the official deadline, right, is June 30th, 2028. But what we are hearing is that you're going to start getting notices just like we're getting for SAVE at the end of 2027 and early 2028. And if you don't make a choice, they're going to default you to standard. So if you're waiting that long, like, you're not going to be able to stay in forbearance for that period of time. We know that one way or the other. So the question becomes, if it's saving you that much money and it's that important to you, what are you waiting for? Why even take the risk? Just get enrolled in the plan. Johnny, pay 4 to 5 years, goals forgiveness, anticipating increased payments, have HSA, Roth IRA, Roth 401k. Hey, so Johnny, yeah, okay, good. I see your follow-up question. Should I switch over to traditional to lower my AGI? Yeah, so I was saying those Roths are not helping you. They're not helping you with your student loans, and they're not helping you maximize your loan forgiveness. So I would definitely be doing traditional to lower my adjusted gross income to go from there. Barry, nice to meet you. Do you offer private sessions if I need someone to look over my options? No, so we're a news and media organization, and I love it. And as much as I'd love to help you, it's not what we do here at the College Investor. I talk about the news, and I share what you need to know. However, I know a few folks that you should talk to if you're interested in it. If you are interested in the financial planning side of things because you're a high net worth person, you're a doctor, you got different levers to pull, check out the team at the Student Loan Planner. They're CFPs. They're literally fiduciaries, and they will put together a financial plan that works for you. If you are on the other side of the spectrum, with like, I'm going to get sued by a private lender, I'm thinking about bankruptcy, I'm overwhelmed with my debts, check out Jay, the student loan lawyer. He is a lawyer that specializes in bankruptcy and student loans and this type of thing. I've known both of these folks for 15 years now. They are real humans with real businesses, and they are really good at what they do. With that being said, if you are in the middle, there's not a lot of options. I think that's the one thing. People think there's all these choices. You got IBR, RAP, standard. You can go click the link in bio, run the calculators. It's not as much option driven as it's ever been. Right now, there's about 40 options in the system. And going forward, there are going to be about 3 options in the system. Miss Mary says, can you settle your student loans for less? So with that being said, the general answer is for federal loans, it's an absolute no, but I'm going to put an asterisk there. You will never settle for less than you borrow, Miss Mary, for federal student loans. There are things that the Department of Education will negotiate on, but all of them still leave you worse off, and you have to have been in default in collection costs. There are scenarios where they will waive the collection costs. There are scenarios where they'll waive 50% of the collection costs, and there are scenarios where they'll settle for 90% of the whole pie of your principal, interest, and collection costs, and they'll make it 90% of that. They only get there when it's not like you've already been in default and destroyed your whole life financially. Private student loans are very similar. They're never going to settle unless you're currently in default and you've likely already been sued. Once you're sued, they might negotiate with you because they're trying to not pay lawyers and they're trying to see what they can get out of it for you. Again, you're only getting sued because you've not paid your private student loans forever, and they're coming after you. So technically you can, but like you're actually worse off by trying to do that. So don't recommend it, Miss Mary. Jeff says, I have a Parent Plus loan in the extended graduated plan. I think I make too much for IDR. What do I do? So Jeff, it's not that you make too much for IDR. It's that you already have to have been consolidated to enroll in IDR. IDR will always be the lowest except for the first few years of the extended graduated plan. And so Jeff, I don't know if you were at the beginning of my live when I talked to that other person in this chat. I hate the graduated plan. I hate the extended graduated plan even more than the regular graduated plan. It is a seductive trap. And what I mean by that is, remember, the graduated plan hockey sticks. It goes like this, right? And so you think you're doing okay on this low side of the hockey stick for 4 years, 6 years, all the different things. But then the payments start rising and you're like a frog in a pot, right? And you're going to start boiling and you're just going to start getting in trouble and you're going to start looking for other options. And the problem is moving forward after July 1st, Parent Plus loans have no options if they're not consolidated, right? You only have the standard repayment plan. If you are consolidated, you at least have income-driven repayment, which is ICR and IBR. And there's no cap anymore. There's no partial financial hardship requirement to enroll in that. And the cap on IBR is the standard plan. So like you're always better off in IBR than the standard plan. The problem is 6 years, 8 years down the line, when that payment gets too high, you're going to look to switch. But you basically lost 6 years or 8 years of time towards loan forgiveness under IBR, which is very frustrating. And so by the time you do switch, you've lost all that time. Part 2 is moving forward. By the time you switch, you're not going to have these inexpensive options anymore. So Jeff, I don't know if you've consolidated or not consolidated, but I would really recommend getting off of the graduated extended plan. I'll tell you also statistically, like literally less than 5% of all student loan borrowers are enrolled in it. And then when you see who repays their student loan at the end, it's like 0.01% of everybody ever finishes on graduated because this happens. Like literally 6, 8, 10-year mark, everyone leaves that plan like all the time. And I see it and yeah, I don't like it. But it does seduce people at the front end here because of the low payment. Nika, is it best to call the provider themselves for the options or ask around first before choosing? So Nika, I'm a millennial and I hate phone calls. Literally, I will never call. I will send you a letter before I call you. With that being said, Nika, the options are very simple. Standard, IBR, RAP. You can go to our calculator. You can go to studentaid.gov's repayment estimator. Just go understand your options, and then you just apply online. Studentaid.gov, you go to about this point in time, click apply for income-driven repayment, and you're there. I understand that my style is not everyone's. You can, of course, call your loan servicer. But I also know from watching this for years, they only know how to answer you based on what you tell them. And so I see a lot of bad information in leads to bad information out. And so I really encourage you to just go run the numbers yourself. Make sure that you're pulling your adjusted gross income from your tax return yourself. You have the right data so that you're getting the right inputs and you're getting the right outputs. All right. Ashley says, can they come after me for federal student loans if I make monthly payments less than the minimum due? Yeah, Ashley. So if you do not pay the minimum due, you are still technically going to be in delinquency. And then if you don't catch up on all your gaps of what you were supposed to pay by the time you get to the 9-month mark, you're in default and all the collection stuff happens. So Ashley, don't do that. It's like even dumber than like at least if you're not making payments, you're saving all that money, but you literally end up in the same financial boat, but you've paid on your loans. Don't do that. Very nice to meet you. Do you think it's worth considering a HELOC for a better rate than my federal loan servicer, Mohila? No, never. So number one, very nice to meet you, is I doubt you're going to get that much of a difference in your HELOC, especially in today's HELOCs that are like 7-8%. You're probably not going to beat your federal student loans. Number two is, why do you want to risk your house now instead of you have like this unsecured debt? Yeah, they could garnish your wages potentially, but they can't take your house. So like, I would not mix the two together. Also, if repayment is your goal, get on a standard plan with your student loans. A lot of HELOCs, they have this draw period. You're accruing interest before you're even repaying, and sometimes payments aren't due. Like, you could actually make it more expensive even if you have a tiny bit lower interest rate on a HELOC, depending on how you are leveraging it and what repayment looks like on said HELOC. I keep hearing about something that needs to be done with my student loans on July 1st with my student loans. Cardia, everything is changing on July 1st. So the question becomes, what's your situation? Drop it in the chat. Cameron, do we not like the graduated repayment plan? No, we do not like the graduated repayment plan. Nobody should be in the graduated repayment plan. If you didn't see me, Cameron, graduated repayment plan, seduces you up front, but since it hockey sticks upward, you go on this plan for like 6 years, and then you're going to end up changing, but you've lost progress, all the things. Like, just get on a regular plan from the start. Firefly, I have been in IDR. Is that going away? No. So everyone kind of mixes up labels. So let's talk labels. IDR is the category of plans, income-driven repayment. Right? So there's two categories of student loan plans. The standard plans, standard, extended, graduated. The standard plans repay your student loans in full over the repayment period. That is their job. They take the principal and interest and they make a set number of payments and you repay your loans under the standard plans. Then you have the income-driven repayment plans, and there's 5 of them, right? So you have IBR, ICR, pay as you earn. You have the save plan that's dead. And then you have the wrap plan that starts on July 1st. All of these are considered IDR, or income-driven repayment plans. These are different than the standard plans, as they're not designed to pay off your loans. They are designed to set your monthly payment as a percentage of your income. And their purpose is to both support loan forgiveness programs and to support those that have a financial hardship and can't afford the standard plan payments. And so those are the two categories of plans. Of course, IDR plans will continue to exist because you have IBR. You still have pay as you earn an ICR for another year and a half. And then the newest IDR plan, RAP, launches in 3 weeks now. So, all right, Ken, I need to take private student loans without a cosigner. Should I even approach small banking institutions? So, Ken, a few things. Number one, our show is sponsored by Student Choice, and they are a network of credit unions that do private student loans. Go check them out. But you're probably not going to get a private student loan without a cosigner unless you are not an undergraduate student. So if you're a grad school student, you got a good chance of it. If you are an undergraduate student and you are a junior or senior in a high demand field, specifically things like nursing or allied sciences or allied health and things like that, and you're almost done and the program is trustworthy and everything, there are some lenders that might give you a no cosigner student loan. It's extremely rare. Less than 0.01% of undergraduate students can get a no cosigner student loans. And small banking institutions do not do student loans by themselves. There's only about 20 lenders in America. Even Student Choice is actually a network of 200 credit unions, and they all kind of pool together because the economics of student loans are not great for small institutions by themselves. Miracles, I'm going back to school. Which student loans would be best for me to seek? Great question, Miracles. So you always fill out the FAFSA and you take the federal student loan first. And then once you have the federal student loan, you can supplement with private student loans. But before you do that, please do the math and make sure you understand what repayment looks like, what the salaries in your career field look like, so that you know that you can afford it. With that being said, guys, we've asked about it a couple times. So today's show is sponsored by Student Choice Student Loans. They are a network of credit unions, and they offer one of the most unique products in the space, the education line of credit. So you can do one application. You can borrow for all 4 years of college. It's a really cool option. So if you're looking after borrowing federal and you're shopping for private, right? We always borrow the federal loans first. And then you're shopping for private, and you know you can afford to repay them, like don't get yourself into trouble, hit the link in bio, go get a quote, shop around. I literally cannot afford the minimum payment now that I will be bumped from Save. So Ashley, this is, what's the payment? Like drop it in the chat. Let's talk about it. So what's your RAP payment and what's your IBR payment? If you don't know, go run the calculators, go see the numbers. I mean, RAP caps at 10%. It could be lower. It could be 5%. It could be $10 a month. Like, what are we talking, Ashley? I think that will give a lot of context to the bigger question. Firefly, I think I got you going. Flowers, how long can I just ignore my student loans? Flower, if you're in the Save plan, you got about 3 weeks left before you need to start thinking about your student loans. It's only stressful though because of the uncertainty, and this is what my encouragement for you is, and this is how I feel. I get anxiety about uncertainty. But once I at least know my options, at least I can plan and take action. So Flower, I would go hit the calculators, go understand what your standard plan payment would be, your RAP plan payment would be, and your IBR payment would be. And that way, at least you know what you're going to pay. And now you have up to 3 months potentially to make plans to put that into your budget. I think that helps a lot with the anxiety. I wouldn't keep ignoring them because then the pressure becomes intense when you now are like backed up against a wall. Right? So at least make the plan and try to work the plan over the next couple months. Cameron, my wife and I filed jointly. What is the best plan for low monthly payments until we can refile? Again, it's IBR, RAP, calculators right here. Go run it. Check them out. Link in bio. Eric, what option do you suggest? I'm sure it depends on what, but I'm guessing standard is best. Eric, did I miss another comment from you? Because I don't know what that's related to, but you really have 3 options. Standard, IBR, RAP, calculators are here. Oh, C asks, what is RAP? So RAP is the Repayment Assistance Plan, and it is the new student loan repayment plan that launches on July 1st, and it's the new income-driven repayment plan. So it sets your monthly payment anywhere from a $10 minimum. They don't let you have a $0 payment anymore, but a $10 minimum up to 10% of your adjusted gross income, only for those making over $100,000 adjusted gross income too. So it's not just your gross, it's your adjusted gross income. And then it has some cool features of no negative amortization. So your loan balance will never grow once you enroll in the plan. It also has a principal reduction subsidy. So if you do not pay at least $50 to your student loan principal every single month, they will match your payment up to $50 to drop your principal balance. Both of those things are pretty awesome. Fisherman says, Fisherman Arturo, which one ends in a year and a half? I went with that option. What happens when it expires? So both the pay-as-you-earn plan, pay, and the income contingent repayment, ICR, expire in a year and a half. On June 30th, 2028, you're actually going to have to make a new choice probably at the end of 2027 or early 2028. With that being said, what happens? You're going to get letters, just like everyone's getting letters right now to get out of the SAVE forbearance. And they're going to say, choose a new repayment plan. And you will just need to choose IBR or RAP at that point in time. So JMB says, I already signed up to get out of SAVE and enroll in IBR. Can I switch to RAP when it comes out? You absolutely can. Cardia Queen, do you recommend your child taking out loans in their name for college or parents? I think this is a great question because it's really important to understand how it works. So I always recommend that the child takes their federal student loan first. So federal child loan first, that's only in their name. Here's the problem though, is if you're a freshman, the limit is $5,500. And I think we all know that that's not going to cut it for a lot of institutions, right? So once the child caps on their $5,500, everything is going to be on the parent in one way or another. Either the parent can take the federal Parent Plus loan. That is a loan in their name only. It's limited to $20,000 a year or $65,000 in total. And it has a 9% interest rate this year. It's kind of high. Then the other option that I think that all parents should compare it to is private loans. So you could check out Student Choice, you could check out other options, but if you can get a lower interest rate than that 9% federal loan, you probably should go private because the federal loan really doesn't have any benefits anymore either. There's no income-driven repayment, there's no public service loan forgiveness, all those things. So private loans are potentially a better deal if you can get a lower interest rate. The big thing with all of this, Cardia Queen, is that you as the parent are on the hook for this, one way or the other. And that means you need to make sure that you can afford it in your finances and not over borrow. Because I'm also guessing you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, and you want to retire, and now you got all this debt. So my biggest thing would be choose a cheaper college. My second biggest thing is make sure you understand what that repayment looks like and you can afford it. All right. C, I think I got you. JMB, the Repayment Assistance Program is a new one they're coming out with. Yep. All right. Flower, you're checking it out. Username, no one can afford the payments. I make great money. I look like, after taxes, I bring out about 53%. RAP not even offered. Well, RAP comes out July 1st, username. Go check the calculator right over here and see what your payment would be. All right. Shelly Jen says, what is that one? Which one were you just talking about with AGI of 100K? So that's the Repayment Assistance Plan I think you're talking about. So it's the new student loan repayment plan that comes out on July 1st. If you're curious about it, Shelly, go run the numbers right here, link in bio. Eric, pros and cons of standard repayment option. The pros is it just repays your student loan completely normally. Like, it's the simplest thing that there is. Like, if you want to talk about how loans normally work, the standard plan is how loans normally work. Fully amortized, even payments over 10 years, you're done. The con is that may be the highest monthly payment for you, and you may not be able to afford said standard plan amount. Flower. So my standard plan is 202, but wrap is 712. Is there another option? So Flower, that tells me that one, you make really good money if you have a $712 wrap payment. I know it doesn't feel like it. Like, let's be honest, like no one feels like they make good money, but in the big scheme of life, you're doing okay. But number two is because your standard is only $202, it tells me that you also have a very low loan balance. The average student loan payment in America today is pushing $500. So your payment of $202 is literally less than half of the average. You're on the very low side of things. So Flower, my guess is I would try to budget that $200 and just pay off my loans. I don't think you're going to qualify for any forgiveness programs because your loan balance is that and your income is decent. Yeah. See, the calculator's in the bio on the website, collegeinvestor.com. Go check it out. GD Gravy, what are the terms of the wrap plan? So wrap sets your monthly payment from a $10 minimum to 10% of your adjusted gross income, and it's stair steps. So a 50K, you're at 5%, 70K, you're at 7%. And if you guys kind of notice, 50K is the inflection point that kind of matches to the save plan. So like if you were to build a plan that lower payment for low income, higher payment for higher income folks, like it's kind of what they're doing here. You get $50 off a month for each dependent you have on your tax return. You get there's no negative amortization, right? So your loan balance will never grow as long as you're making your payment that's required every single month. And there's the principal reduction subsidy. It will lower your monthly payment by at least $50 if your payment does not lower it that much. With that being said, there is a trade-off. It's not all roses. It's a 30-year repayment plan until you get to forgiveness, right? So IBR is 20 or 25 years. The wrap plan is 30 years. So if for whatever reason you don't pay it off, it's a 30-year timeline. And then Cameron says, does wrap use you and your spouse's income? If you file married filing jointly, this applies to both IBR and RAP. If you guys file your taxes married filing jointly, it always uses your joint income. And if you file your taxes married filing separately, it always uses your separate income. That's how all these plans work, guys. It's important to realize when you file jointly, you're telling the U.S. government that we are one unit. We're one unit for taxes. We're one unit for our debts we owe you. We're one unit for how you want to handle our income. We're one unit. If you file your taxes separately, you're telling the government that we are individual units. And so everything that we're going to interact with the government on will be individually. Firefly, I have 32 months left for PSLF. 2 of them are in save, multiple loans, undergrad, grad. IDR should be 32 months. I don't know what the acronym is there, but if you're going for PSLF, every single loan has its own count. Both IBR, RAP count for PSLF. Choose whichever one gives you the lowest payment. I think it's really important to realize when you're going for public service loan forgiveness, your only thing you focus on is lowest monthly payment. It doesn't do anything. You got to be on IBR or RAP, but whichever of those two gives you the lowest monthly payment, that's it. Tyler, if I pick my new repayment plan in mid-July, when will my first payment be due? Well, I'm going to venture they're going to take about 2 weeks to process it. And so they're going to process it at the end of July, early August. Your first payment will be due at the end of August, early September. So fishermen work for a PSLF eligible employer. Would you recommend wrap? Again, the only question is IBR or wrap, whichever one gives me the lowest monthly payment. Your goal with PSLF is to minimize the amount you pay over your 120 payments, or in your case, 47 more payments. The lowest between IBR and wrap, that's it. And maybe it changes in 2 years, but always are picking the lowest of the two. Yeah, Flower, I will also tell you my loans are at 20K. I know this is not a consolation, but you have a very low loan balance. Like you're doing okay in the student loan space. You have a low payment and a low loan balance. I know the budgeting thing sucks though, and can't help you there. But if you want to DM us, I'm always happy to give some thoughts. But you have a low balance. It's actually something you should be proud of, but I know it's frustrating. Kimberly, I just following up to let you know I was able to get those missing months added to PSLF and I am at 120. Hoorah! Kimberly, I love it. I love it when people are getting their students given. Great job. I'm glad things are working out. Saman, what's the difference between RAP and IBR? They're both income-driven repayment plans. They're calculated differently. So you've heard me say RAP is $10 minimum, but 10% of your adjusted gross income. IBR is either 10% of your discretionary income or 15% of your discretionary income, depending on when you first borrowed a student loan. IBR is a 30-year timeline. RAP is a 30-year timeline. IBR is 20 or 25 years, again, depending on when you took out your loan. Tyler, if I choose type of repayment plan now, can I change to RAP once I filed my taxes? Tyler, you can change to RAP once you file your taxes. I will be cautious though. If you have a bunch of time on IBR already, I don't know what your history looks like, and you're not going for public service loan forgiveness, I would not do that. If you are going for public service loan forgiveness, sure, pick the lowest one. Doesn't make a difference. The only reason is because of that timeline difference. Like if you were saying like, I've been paying these loans for 10 years already, I'd rather see you get your loans forgiven in 10 more years, not 20 more years. C, the options if you can't afford the monthly payment are you got to figure out the rest of your budget. If you've run RAP and you've run IBR, remember, they're capping at the most you're going to ever pay is 10%. And that's if you're making $100,000 a year. So you got to figure out what's going on with the other 90+% of your budget. And that's the tougher part. And I can't necessarily troubleshoot that with you on this live unless you really want to get detailed. Leah, for PSLF, can you make extra payments to get forgiveness quicker? No. Well, just don't. You can get into pay ahead status, but you still have to work the time and it can mess things up. And bigger thing with PSLF, Leah, is your job is to pay the lowest legally responsible or required by law. You don't want to pay extra. And you don't want to get pay ahead status because you still got to work the months. And from a math perspective, it's actually better for you. Like, let's just say you had a year of payments and you're like, I just want to prepay a year. No, silly. Put that money in a savings account, earn the interest, and you keep the money. Don't give it to the U.S. government. Like, your job with PSLF is to pay the lowest legal amount required by law and then maximize your loan forgiveness. And then Leah says to you, if I change my payment plan, I get on administrative forbearance until it's processed. Leah, I will tell you that this week alone, I have seen over a dozen changes happen in a day, 24 hours. I would tell you that most people are seeing their repayment plan processes within 7 to 14 days. That's like 98% of folks. Yes, technically, if they do not process your application in a billing cycle, you get to go on a processing forbearance. And that processing forbearance will count for PSLF. But I will tell you that so far in 2026, I can probably count on one hand how many people I've seen that happen to versus like hundreds and thousands processing super quick. So it wouldn't be something I would be counting on. I think you're going to just get rocking and rolling, which I also think if you're going for PSLF, Leah, you should be on IBR already. You shouldn't be in SAVE. You're costing yourself time and you probably cost yourself money by waiting. It should get processed pretty quickly. It should get processed. I'm glad. So you're already in repayment too, so that makes me happier. You're not in SAVE. CC, if your application for a new plan is still processing, do your payments still count for PSLF? CC, you get 60-day processing forbearance, and then no, they don't count after that. You have to buy them back. I don't know when you applied, CC, but if you haven't applied in the last like 3 months, 4 months, really in 2026, you should be applying again. Applications after 6 months typically get tossed out. So I don't know how long you've been waiting and what that looks like. So Poodle, save for the tax bomb and keep the minimum monthly payment or pay extra each month. 10 years left, not PSLF. Oh, CC, first off, I'll come back to you, Poodle. But CCU applied this month. It should get processed pretty quick. All right, Poodle, tax bomb, not tax bomb, 10 years left. So Poodle, it's really a math equation. And the math equation is, I don't know if you've run our tax bomb calculator yet, but run the tax bomb calculator and see what your current minimum expected is plus the tax bomb, and you add that up as one scenario. And then you take your second scenario of what does the higher monthly payment look like to pay off, and then you just compare which one is going to cost me the least over the next 10 years, right? Because your job is literally to pay the least amount you have to, and you got a couple scenarios. So run those numbers and decide which one it is. Just math. Yep, check it out. All right, what do we got here? Firefly, if I'm understanding this correctly, under PSLF, I have to pick IBR or RAP. Does it remain at 10 years after that change when shifted out of save? PSLF, you should have your own counts. Like if you log in Firefly in your student aid portal, you have your PSLF counts like on your sidebar right there, those green banners. They keep staying, and every time you make an eligible payment under IBR or RAP, once you certify your employment, of course, like you'll get your counts updated. Your PSLF count is completely independent of your time-based loan forgiveness count. Fisherman, my PSLF counts for grad and undergrad are different. Glad to see one go soon. Yes, that's always exciting to see one go soon. And that's totally normal. Every loan repayment count. So Firefly, kind of what Fisherman Arturo is saying right here. Every loan has its own count. Once they hit 120, that will go away. All right, sorry. Let's fix out the silly TikTok here. All right. Okay. Let's see. Eric, sounds like standard is the best choice, so long as you can adapt, budget, and afford it. It really depends. It's a math game, right, Eric? Standard's the best choice for half of people. Loan forgiveness, income-driven repayments, the best choice for the other half of people. It's what makes student loans complicated. It's not as simple as just understanding it. It's like the total cost of repayment, understanding loan forgiveness programs, all the things. Saman, what do you have to do for them to forgive your loans? Do you have to work at a non-profit or? So Saman, there's over 80 different loan forgiveness programs. You touched on the most popular one being public service loan forgiveness. That allows you to get your loans forgiven after working for 10 years at federal, state, local government, a nonprofit, public education, fire, public safety, all these things, hospital, whatnot. That's the biggest one. You have time-based loan forgiveness, which is all these repayment plans, IBR, RAP, all have time-based loan forgiveness. That's another very popular place to end up getting your loans forgiven through. You got teacher loan forgiveness. You got state-driven loan forgiveness repayment plans. You got employers that are paying your loans. There's a lot of options out there, Simon. Lynn, I'm a new teacher. IBR says payments will be 503, standard is 534. I don't know what's best. Hey, so Lynn, you're in that tough spot where you don't have a very large loan balance and you're making okay money as a teacher. The result is you're paying off those loans 10 years, right? So the question becomes, you're likely going to see your income rise a little bit over the next 10 years. So that PSLF of $8 forgiven is probably not going to happen because that IBR payment, maybe not this year or next year, but in a couple of years, will go up $20, right? So Lynn, I think you just choose the standard plan and you just plan on paying off those student loans because they're just such a low amount. Linnea, are student loans forgiven or discharged after 20 plus years? So depending on the repayment plan and assuming that you've actually been paying under said repayment plan, potentially. So IBR is 20 years for borrowers after 2014. IBR is 25 years for borrowers before 2014. ICR is 25 years, and the new repayment assistance plan is 30 years. This also, again, assumes that you're actually paying under these repayment plans. Times of forbearance don't count. So if you're in the SAVE forbearance, for example, that doesn't count towards that timeline. The COVID time did, so something to think about. Leah, if both my parents retire, will their payments get lowered for their Parent Plus loans? So, Leah, if they have consolidated and they're on an income-driven repayment plan, yes, their payments can go down because of the income-driven repayment plan. If they have not consolidated, then the answer is no, because they have to have consolidated before June 30th, and I don't think you're going to have time to do that. And Leah, honestly, I hate that you've been paying them. I'm just going to follow up here. From the financial planning and estate planning world, I don't know how your parents are financially, but I see this scenario happen a lot where you're in your 20s or 30s and you're sending money up to them for these loans that they don't necessarily need help with, because if they actually are low income, they could have low or no payments, right? But then they pass away, and then you get all this money or assets or house back when you're 50 or 60, and it's like, you don't need it then, you need it now. I think this is a really important thing to sit around the table and talk about, especially as you get older parents approaching retirement. I just hate seeing your family waste money and people being worse off as a result of very simple fixes. Kimberly, would requesting for processing forbearance next step or continue paying until loan forgiven? Kimberly, did I miss a question? You don't request a processing forbearance unless you've applied for a new repayment plan, but you said pay until loan forgiveness, so that means you're already in a repayment plan. I'm not tracking you, Kimberly. Saman, which plan or student loan get forgiven if you haven't made any payments? I was under the IDR plan and made $0 payments. So again, IDR is the big overarching picture, Saman. Were you under IBR, ICR, pay as you earn? When did you first borrow? I think I covered a lot of that already. So, all right, what do we got here? We will keep going. Oh, it's already 11 o'clock here, guys. Well, with that said, we're going to keep going for another hour or two. I love all your questions. You guys are asking great questions today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor. If you're not liked, subscribed, and followed, please do. We talk about money and education here at The College Investor. Thanks, Linnea. I see you just followed. With that being said, this is what we've been doing since 2009. My team's been doing it longer than I have. We are a news and media organization that talks about student loans, financial aid, and all this stuff related to personal finance and education, student loans, all that. This week's live Lunch and Learn Q&A is sponsored by Student Choice. Student Choice is a cool network of credit unions that offer great deals on student loans. They also have this education line of credit that allows one application to be used for all 4 years of school, and you can draw down as you need it. Of course, you need to take the federal loans first, and you need to run the numbers of what you can afford. But if you're curious, link in bio, go check them out. 94601. I like that. 60 months counted on PSLF, but I have not made a payment yet. Is that right? Well, you might have 60 months of employment. I don't know if you have 60 months of eligible payments. So 94601, if you have a $0 eligible payment because like your income is that low, well, $0 payments count. That's a payment. The COVID forbearance counts. The SAVE forbearance does not count. So, you know, I don't know how you're getting 60 months. So maybe you have it. Maybe you're on IBR and you have a $0 payment. Maybe you'll drop a little bit more in the comments and we'll see what's up. Just me, if a loan is in deferment for 2 more years, why if a loan is in deferment for 2 more years, I can't tell if I'm accruing interest and should I start? So just me, I'm guessing you mean SAVE. The SAVE forbearance is ending. Your 2028 date is a placeholder. And yes, interest has been accruing since August of 2024. So, thoughtful essay. Daughter started med school. Is there a scenario where 100% private is better than higher federal student loans? There's no scenario where that is true, the thoughtful essay. Your daughter should maximize her federal student loans and then supplement with private. Your concept of higher is relative. Go shop and compare private student loans for a 10-year term that have no forgiveness options. And you're going to be very much on par with what your daughter's getting for school. Maybe you have 0.5% or 1% difference. But here's the important thing with doctors in medical school is a lot of them get loan forgiveness. And so the real financially savvy move here is that They take out the federal loans. They start repaying when they're in residency. They're getting PSLF credits. And then so many doctors continue to work in nonprofit healthcare settings and they get their loans forgiven. That only applies to federal student loans. So if you maximize that bucket of 200,000 and then maybe you have 50,000 in private, now you're really actually only dealing with $50,000 in private student loans that you'll have to repay. So thoughtful essay, federal loans first, every day of the week. Eric, what happens if I ignore my status? So they will default you into the standard plan at the end of your 90-day window. And then if you don't start making those standard plan payments, you enter delinquency and then you enter default and then they'll start collecting money from you. That's going to be more expensive than what you would have paid under an income-driven repayment plan. Linda's TikTok. Consolidation, interest does become principal. So Linda's TikTok is dropping in some good notes there. So consolidation is a capitalization event. But honestly, guys, starting now, really no one needs to consolidate unless you're trying to get out of default. So consolidation is something that does not need to happen. And as Linda brings up, it can be more damaging to consolidate than not consolidate. I really hope they take that option away from studentaid.gov because a lot of people get themselves into trouble. We have 51K. Can't decide if we should refi. Won't save me any money on payments monthly. Jennifer, I really don't like people refining their federal student loans into private student loans. If your goal is to just repay the loans, just repay the loans. You know, you're going to maybe arbitrage a percent. I don't know if that. I don't know when your loans are for. It's probably not worth it. I mean, you can go shop and compare and see, but not really something that's beneficial. Linnea, if a borrower's loans were forgiven and they take out Parent Plus loans, are the Parents Plus loans forgiven? I'm not tracking you in this scenario, Linnea. So like the Parent Plus loans are just the parents' loans. And why were the borrower's loans forgiven? What's the story? I don't know. Leah, my parents applied for consolidation for their Parent Plus at the end of May. Do you think they'll make it? Oof. Fingers crossed, Leah. Fingers crossed. I don't know. I literally don't know. It's really up in the air on that one. Jessica, I have a Parent Plus loan, double consolidated and pay to go IBR July 1st. Do I have to use ICR first? So Jessica, you're already double consolidated into pay. You don't need to do anything. Why don't you just sit and pay and enjoy your pay until it ends in, end of next year and then switch to IBR at that point in time. And no, you don't need to do this intermediate step because you're double consolidated and you're already in pay. So Jessica, I wouldn't do anything. I would just enjoy your pay for another year and a half. I borrowed in 2008 and didn't make any payments. Just 2 or 3 payments total under the IBR plan. Well, just Saman, you got to get back on the IBR plan and just get rock and rolling. Call me Courtney. Graduated in 2009 under old loans, consolidated under saved to get the count, then went back to school. What do you suggest? If you have any payments that counted with that consolidation waiver, you should just get an IBR right now. And remember, this time and save, it's lost. That kind of sucks. So call me Courtney, IBR. Oh, Kimberly, so you're at 120 PSLF. Do I continue paying or can I request forbearance until forgiveness? So Kimberly, if you have made your 120th payment, you keep paying and you'll get a refund. But part 2 is your PSLF is going to get processed in about 2 weeks. You'll get all green banners and the green banners will say no more payments are due. So I don't know when you hit the 120. But once you have all your green banners, which usually takes about 2 weeks after you make your last payment and you've certified your 120, it only takes about 2 weeks. And then you get your golden letter about a month later. You should keep paying until that happens. But honestly, in the last year or 2 years, I haven't seen anyone really go past another billing cycle. So I would be surprised if you had to. All right. Hey guys, I love all your comments. I will get to them. Please don't keep dropping them in the chat over and over again. Jessica, I love your question, and Linnea, I see you guys. And I think I got you already, but then it makes it hard to catch up. Yeah, no, call me Courtney. You consolidated at a different time in a different rule, but that's what I mean. So, do you have a payment count under IBR? And if so, you should continue on IBR. Linnea, again, we gotta know the story. There's got to be the story. Jennifer, educational line of credit through our credit union versus a typical private loan. Shop and compare. So remember, Jennifer, the credit union one is student choice. It's actually a conglomerate. Your local credit union is probably one of the 200 that are part of student choice. Shop and compare. I think it's a great product and tool. It makes it very easy because you only have to do one application. You can handle it for 4 years. But I also, from the fiduciary inside me that wants you to make sure you're getting the best rate, you should still shop and compare. Call me Courtney. I thought they were getting rid of IBR. No, IBR exists into perpetuity. And that will be the only option for Parent Plus loan borrowers, which is what you're talking about. You do not have the option to enroll in RAP, Courtney, even though you are double consolidated. You will only be able to repay under IBR, and only if you never borrow again, never consolidate, basically never touch your loans except for repaying them. Leah, again, I think this is a conversation with your parents. So Leah's IBR got approved, $186. Woo! We're going to clap that one. I always like to mix it up. But I still pay $600 for your parents. You got to have that conversation and be like, Mom, Dad, like I'm paying you $7,200 a year when I need it for my family and my kids. And you guys are retired and you're probably going to give me all this crap in your house that I'm going to sell and get back my $7,200 when I'm 60. How does that make sense economically? Like you're hurting me for no benefit to you. So Leah, tableside conversation this summer. I don't know if you have siblings, but it's really time, especially as they're approaching retirement, to talk about financial planning and estate planning with them, because I do think a lot of them don't really understand the whole dynamic that's happening. And I get it, right? They had their mindset of like save, and invest forever. I got to this point, like they have a little win on their side, but they shouldn't do it at the expense of you. And it's their loan. Like you could literally turn off that spigot tomorrow. You have no legal recourse to that, right? Everyone's going to be pissed at each other, but they can't legally do anything about it. So have that conversation, Leah. I think that is also a game changer for everyone's financial situation. All right, Tink, I'm enrolled in SAVE. And what is the best income-based plan currently, and when should I switch? So Tink, you got two options. You got IBR, and starting on July 1st, you have the RAP plan. Calculators, link in bio, go run the numbers. I can't tell you which one's best for you. It's all on your numbers, right? Your income, family size, whatnot. With that being said, officially, you're going to get a notice sometime in July, probably. And you got 90 days from your notice. Don't wait around. Just rock and roll once you know your actual option here. Go run the numbers. Ness, do you know how long IBR application processing is taking and what you're seeing lately? Yeah, it's super fast, Ness. I talked earlier in this live. I saw probably about a dozen process in a day, like literally like a processed, and then like the next day they got their notification that's good. I would say that 98% within 2 weeks. So the only outlying exceptions have been like weird document stuff. And so it's going quick, Ness. Yeah, so last week, I would still give it another week or so. I wouldn't be super surprised that, all right. Diana says, I got stipend for my loan. Should I make one large payment or monthly payments? Diana, the faster you pay down the principal, the better, because it's less interest. So lump sum payments, my friend, lump sum payments. All right. Kimberly finished 6-1, but my coworkers are saying it months and months, and some are waiting for the forgiveness. For PSLF regular, I am not seeing that at all, Kimberly. For PSLF buyback, maybe. We're not talking buyback, I'm assuming. We're talking regular because you said you finished 6-1. So I would venture, Kimberly, that literally by next Friday, you have green banners. I'm assuming that you've also made your final payment and you've submitted your final employment certification. Green banners should be updated. And then by, I would say, July 30th, you would have your golden letter. That would be my guess on your timeline. Leah, I don't know if it's lower. I mean, if that's what your payment is, again, you just got to run the numbers on your $186. So that one's on your income. I don't know on that one. Molly, if I borrow a Parent Plus loan last year, am I exempt from the new limits even after July 1st? So Molly, it's important to realize that yes, your child and you are exempt from the $20,000 a year cap. But here's the but. The but is if you borrow again, you're not exempt from the repayment plan changes. And so the only way you're going to repay all of your Parent Plus loans are on the standard plan. And if you're borrowing more than $20,000, number one, that scares the F out of me. Like way too much money for college. And I don't know if you've run the standard repayment plan calculator. Come up here and do it on our website and understand what kind of financial craziness you're about to get yourself into by borrowing that much money for college. So please do that, please. So you can borrow it, you're exempt, but you're not exempt from the repayment plan changes, which also means no IBR, no public service loan forgiveness. I just want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Call me Courtney. What was our conversation? I am saying IBR. So they're not getting rid of either of them. They're not getting rid of IDR. So remember, I'll just go back. I'm just scrolling back here through. So Courtney, you have a Parent Plus loan. Parent Plus loans will only have access to IBR, income-based repayment. IDR is the category that will include both IBR and RAP. Parent Plus loans and double consolidated Parent Plus loans, all of those, they're never eligible for RAP. They're only eligible for IBR. And IBR continues. IDR plans continue because they're literally launching a new one on July 1st. So hopefully that makes sense. You don't have Parent Plus loans. Okay. Sorry, Courtney. I was trying to scroll through. Someone was talking about their Parent Plus loans. No, IBR exists into the future. IDR is RAP and IBR. It's just a category. Aunt Bra says, my son works for law enforcement, but I can't qualify for public service loan forgiveness on PSLF. Well, yeah, Aunt Bra, I'm guessing you have a Parent Plus loan. So it's your loan. It's not your kid's loan. It's based on your employment and your scenario. Do you need to consolidate though? It's kind of too late at this point in time. If you haven't, you're going to repay under standard. That's just how it's going to go. Erica, what is the best route for repayment for a recent grad? So, Erica, you have 6 months before you have to make a decision on your repayment plan. And there's two camps. There is the income-driven repayment plan camp, which is IBR and RAP. And these plans are used by about 50% of folks that are looking for loan forgiveness or have a partial financial hardship because they can't afford the regular standard plan payments. Over here, you got the standard plan payment. Standard plan payment just pays off your loan in 10 years. That's just what it does. Okay? Can't afford that. You look over here at IBR or RAP. Or, if, like I said, you're going for loan forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness, all the things, you just go with one of those. So run the numbers. Hopefully spend the next 5 months or so getting a job, getting locked, unloaded on your income, build up an emergency fund, and then enroll in a repayment plan. Eric, I'm a government employee. Is there any benefit to my loan repayment? Eric, you qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So the question becomes, which is mathematically better for you? IBR or RAP for the 120 payments for PSLF, or standard to pay it off? Kind of depends on your income and your loan balance. Leah, I have a balance of $42 on IBR. Would you suggest trying to pay it off? Or if you just mean $42 like right now, like you just pay off the $42. If you mean like $42,000 or something, that's a different story. Kimberly, I got the green banner. Oh, well then you're square. Your green banner should also say no more payments are required. So you don't need to do anything else. Tink Tink, we have one link in bio. Go click the link in our bio. It's literally like all the little links come up. We got student choice. We got student loan calculator. It's all right there. So Aunt Bra, I have the Parent Plus loans and I don't know what to do. So Aunt Bra, it's just so late in the game right now to change anything. So the law is changing on July 1st. You had to fully complete a consolidation by June 30th to have access to income-driven repayment. And I just don't know if you were to apply today, if you would finish. You can give it a good shot and try, but otherwise you're just going to repay under the standard repayment plan. So that's it. You had to have consolidated already to have access to income-based repayment. And if you haven't, you're not going to have that. And that it's tough because that's a big payment. I can see the number right there. Leah, why does my repayment plan say that I'm currently on IBR of $0 a month? Sounds like you might be under $0 a month. But Leah, I also say you just said your application went through for like $167. I'll tell you that like you'll get a bunch of like most people are getting like 2 or 3 notices, and then they get their final like actual payment posting. But if you've been on IBR, your payment might be $0 a month under IBR. That's a legal payment. I don't know your history beyond what you've kind of dropped in the chat here. Animal Farm, I never heard about this until last week, so I'm screwed is what you're telling me. If you have a Parent Plus loan that's not consolidated, it could be an issue for you. Kimberly, green banner, but does not say no payment required. So I would challenge you, is all of your loans certified? Like, did you have undergraduate and graduate loans and maybe they have different payment counts, so you might still have a payment due? I would also ask, is all 120 months both certified for payments and for employment? Because you might be in a situation where you thought something counted or didn't count. You got to dive in on that one and see what's going on. So keep making the payments until they say no payment required. But again, you got your employment certification in. There's something amiss in there. I'm wondering if you're counting the save months. I don't know. Something's amiss. Keep making the payments though, Kimberly. Snowcloud, I have $55K in loans, 13 years in IDR. How can I make sure I don't lose my payment history? Snowcloud, you're not going to lose your payment history. Just I don't know what IDR plan you're in, IBR, ICR, pay as you earn. I would make sure that you just enroll in IBR if you are not in IBR currently, and you just continue down that pathway. Hi, I owe $200,000 and married. Would it be beneficial if we filed married filing separately for IBR? So here's my speech on married filing jointly versus married filing separately. When you file married filing separately, you pay more in taxes every day of the week. And at $200,000, well, if you owe that much, you went to grad school, I'm guessing you make good money. That could be a huge tax bill, much more than what you save on your student loan payment. So you have to do some math. The math is how much more in taxes are you going to pay versus how much do you potentially save on your student loans? And if you save more on your student loans than you pay on taxes, it's a good deal. If not, it's not a good deal. And it's like 50-50. It's different for everybody. Here's an example. Let's say your tax bill goes up by $2,400, right? So that's $200 a month. Do you save $201 on your student loan payment? If the answer is yes, it's a better deal If the answer is no, I only save $100 on my student loan payment, well, then paying $2,400 more in taxes is a bad deal. You just got to do the math each year and go from there. Nicole, I just consolidated some of my federal direct loans. Did I mess up? Nicole, I can't say you messed up. I would just ask why you did it. If you had a Parent Plus loan, that makes sense. If you were in default, that makes sense. If you were in neither of them, you might have hurt yourself a little bit if you had some PSLF qualifying payments or anything like that. But it's kind of important to understand why and what's the story there. All right. Andrew and Leah, I love your guys' side combo in the chat. So nice. Thoughtful, new borrowers. Are these plans you speak of the choices for new borrowers or the current ones? So the moving forward, thoughtful essay, new borrowers have the standard plan, always available. And then the repayment assistance plan will be your income-driven repayment plan options. The only choice you will not have is IBR. That one goes away for you. You got wrap and you got standard. So Audrey, my daughter is on SAVE, applied for IDR, but she's also in school. So Audrey, it's not going to get processed because she's on an in-school. I'm assuming she's in school at least half time. So she's on in-school deferment. You're not going to change your repayment plan when you're in in-school deferment. Once she leaves school, she will choose a new repayment plan at that point in time. Very airy Anna says, do you think all IDR plans will be dissolved in the foreseeable future? No, because they literally just are creating a new one that starts on July 1st. So IDR plans aren't going anywhere. We have IBR that exists moving forward for existing borrowers. And then on July 1st, the newest IDR plan, the Repayment Assistance Plan RAP, launches. So no, IDR plans are not going anywhere. How do I know which repayment plan to choose? Brooke says, so you got standard and you got IBR and RAP. And the best thing to do is go run our calculators, link in bio, and go pick a repayment plan. All right, guys, we've been going for almost an hour and a half here and so many great questions. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and followed, please like, subscribe, and follow. It goes a long way. My name's Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor, and I have been talking about personal finance and education on the internet since 2009. This is what we do here. If you haven't noticed, we are sponsored by Student Choice today. So Student Choice is a group of credit unions that offer some of the coolest student loans available, including the education line of credit. Remember, if you've borrowed your federal student loans and you're looking to supplement, go check out Student Choice, link in bio, very first one there. See what the education line of credit's all about, get a quote, and keep dropping your questions in the chat. We'll keep talking about them here. So, Nicole, I'm in default and I make payments, but not much, or not how much they want. So it says I'm past due. I am not in PSLF or any other payment plans. That's a tough spot to be in, Nicole. So if you are in default, you need to get out of default. Paying less than the amount due is going to keep you in delinquency and default, and you're effectively just wasting money. So you either need to consolidate and get back on a repayment plan and make the full payments, or you need to rehabilitate your loans, do the 9 months, and then get back on a repayment plan and make the full payments. The big thing here is you got to fix the other aspects of the budget too that are holding you back, because your whole life is getting more expensive. You're literally wasting all this money that you're making payments on. It's basically wasted to collection costs and interest, and stop doing that unless you're consolidating or getting on default or getting on a rehabilitation plan. Like, stop wasting money. And then part two is you have to realize that not resolving this is going to cost you even more, because they're going to start garnishing your wages, taking your tax refunds if they haven't already. Like, it's more expensive. The new repayment assistance plan caps at 10%. It might even be less if you'd make less than $100,000. Garnishment's 15%. Like, don't do it. Mary, why the hell do I need to apply for the FAFSA even when I tell colleges that I'm paying out of pocket every single year? Well, Mary, you don't have to, but it's strongly recommended you do. Number one, FAFSA is the application for federal loans. I don't know if you're taking them or not. Number two is you would be shocked at the number of people that get federal grants and scholarships and university aid, even if they're millionaires. I see it every single year. These families roll in, and especially in year 2 or 3, because there's this massive fall off. There's this big push to get all these freshmen to apply, and then these kids don't apply in sophomore, junior, and senior year, and all of a sudden these aid dollars come available, and you might be making $200K a year, but nobody else is claiming it. And so just by you putting in your application, all of a sudden you got $5,000. Like, I don't know, to me, the 20 minutes that you just click those buttons and do it is like the easiest thing ever. And you'd be shocked how many people get financial aid, especially in subsequent years, just by doing the FAFSA. All right. On Save, I switched to Pay. Should I switch to IBR? And does my payments on Save count for PSLF? So Francis, you can enjoy Pay until it ends in 2020, probably the end of 2027, early 2028. You're going to have to pick IBR or RAP at that point in time, but you get to enjoy it for another year and a half. Nothing wrong with that. As for payments on Save counting for PSLF, if you made payments on the 6 months before Save was blocked by the courts, maybe it was 8 months, 8 months before Save was blocked by the courts, those directly count for PSLF, assuming you certified your employment. If you were making any kind of payments during the forbearance period, I hate to tell you, that money is basically wasted. They don't count. You can buy back that time later, but because you actually had no payment due in the Save forbearance, you didn't have a payment to make. So I'm hoping you mean like in the 8 months before Save was shut down officially. Leah, so repayment plans available are standard in IDR. I chose IDR. Seeing as IBR was understandable. No, IBR is an IDR plan, Leah. Does one need to lock in a plan when we apply? Nope. Thoughtful essay, you lock in a plan when the child leaves college, 6 months after the child leaves college, actually. And they will do that through their loan servicer that gets assigned to them at that point in time. So if your child's starting medical school, they got a few years before they even have to worry about that one. Nicole, I don't know if you messed up, but the big thing is you have to make the minimum payments. Not coming up short, it just leads back to delinquency and default. Francis, I didn't certify my employment, but yeah, the payments were in the 8 months before Save was shut down. Cool. So Francis, go certify those months. You can retroactively certify. You might have to go track down your employer and get them to sign the form, but yeah, those count. Go get that certified. Also, if you were employed during the rest of the time, you can certify those months as well, and you can apply for buyback. I don't know if you've seen our things on buyback, but it's not necessarily the best option, not necessarily the most beneficial, but I don't know. Go for it. Man, guys, I am feeling like good. We have caught up. We're going for an hour and a half. It always takes so long to catch up on your questions, but I appreciate them. I appreciate all of our top commenters, Leah, Kimberly, Thoughtful Essay, Eric, Johnny, Diana, Francis. You guys are awesome. We're going to keep going here for a little while. So if you have just been watching in the sidelines and you don't know if you should ask your question, now is a great time to. Also, if you haven't liked, subscribed, and followed, please do. I appreciate all the likes. I appreciate all the hearts. They go a long way. We're already at 16,000 hearts, which is phenomenal. And we're going to keep going here and answering your paying for college questions. I would also encourage you, if you haven't checked out our podcast today, we had the Undersecretary of Education on the show, and he was diving into all of the details on all the changes with the Save exit, with the new loan caps, confirmed that there will be tranches of borrowers that get their 90-day notice. So it's not everybody on July 1st. It's going to be in intervals. And they're going to be compressed intervals, but the goal is to not overwhelm the loan servicers if there are customer service issues. Brooke, if I'm going for PSLF, which plan should I look at comparing for the lowest cost? You have two choices: IBR, RAP. That's it, Brooke. Link in bio. Go run the calculators. IBR, income-based repayment, and RAP, repayment assistance plan. Leah, do you think the programs will change depending on the presidency in a few years? Potentially. I think it's important to realize that number one, the earliest that any major changes like this can happen against 2030, right? Because if the new president comes in 2029 and then they like do a big bill over the summer, it would go into effect in 2030. So that's a long time away. That's like half of most people's time they repay their student loans. With that, part two is like every president has basically stamped something on the student loan program, right? Bush launched public service loan forgiveness and IBR. Obama launched pay. Biden tried to do the save. Trump just did the repayment assistance plan. The next person's probably going to do something too. Student loans have changed a lot. They will likely continue to change. I think the big thing that we're seeing right now is how do we get people back into repayment? Some people haven't been repaying their student loans since 2020. How do you make that affordable? But on part two is how do you put pressure on these colleges to stop charging everyone a fortune? And I know a lot of people hate the idea that these loan limits need to exist. I get it. But at the same time, like when the college gets to set whatever price they want and the government says, we'll lend to you whatever you say, just tell us, like, it's just ripe for abuse, right? So I think that's kind of coming a little full circle. But I always think too, the pendulum swings, like happens in everything. Like we go to one extreme, come back, we go to the other extreme. And I've been doing this since 2009. So this isn't my first extreme. It's a lot of changes, but we see it. Neo's mama, I'm projected to pay off my student loans in March of 2027. Should I focus more on savings? Neo's mama, one, congrats. That's really close. I love that for you. Number two is you should always focus on your own retirement, putting that oxygen mask on yourself first. I would make sure that you're not leaving any free money on the table. Do you have a 401k or 403b? Are you consumer debt free? Like you're not paying on a credit card or like a 9% car loan or anything else. I would ask if you've funded an IRA. I would say, do you have a good emergency fund? So it's like, yeah, you should definitely focus on investing in savings. I think you're doing great though, paying off your student loans, and don't pull back that momentum a ton. But I also want to make sure you're bettering the rest of your financial life as well, especially if you get like a 401k match or something. Take advantage of the free money. Kimberly, I have 4 direct loans that don't qualify for PSLF. Can you explain why they wouldn't? There we go. So Kimberly, that's why you don't have you have no payments due, because you got 4 loans that aren't qualifying you for PSLF. So I would say, are you in a repayment plan on those loans, a qualifying repayment plan? Have you certified yes, you have certified your employment. So I would just venture, what repayment plan are those loans in? Are they Parent Plus loans? Like, what's the story with them? I'm sure you got your whole loan history there. And so you got to understand what happened with those 4 loans. Are they from undergraduate and then you got graduate school loans? And so only a few of them have hit the 120 and the other ones still got like 2 years to go. I don't know. A lot of people have that one happen as well. Leah, do student loans affect my ability to buy a house? They absolutely affect your ability to buy a house. They affect your debt to income ratio. If you're in default, you block yourself from an FHA loan. So Leah, it's important to realize that too, they don't care about your Parent Plus loans. So that $600, even though you're paying it, doesn't count against you for buying a house, just your payment. Your lender will use your payment if it's a posted payment. So yeah, it counts against your debt to income ratio, Leah, because that's a bill. I would also be very careful, Leah, because I've seen no less than a dozen people in the last couple months. They bought a house with student loans and then their income has risen, their student loan payment has risen, and now they're like, shit, I can't afford it because I took this mortgage thinking I was only going to have my $160 payment, and now I have a $500 payment. And it becomes very challenging. So just be very careful too. Like, give yourself a very good cushion when you're doing it. Francis, recommendations for financial advisors to manage my student loans. I don't know if I should invest to pay a tax bomb. Francis, it's a great question. So if you want more on the financial planning side of things, check out the team at the Student Loan Planner. They are financial planners, CFPs. This is what they do, is student loans and the intersection of financial planning. You don't need to have anyone manage anything. Like, no, you just need the plan. You went to college. You got this. You just need someone to help you navigate the options. You can execute on it. Neo's mama, no credit card debt, have a 401k pre-tax, a 401k Roth, and a high yield savings account aiming to build 20K in savings. Freaking awesome, Neo's mama. I think you're doing great. You can never save enough. Like, that's true, but like, it sounds like you're on the right track there. That's awesome. Let's give a cheer. Leah, I wonder if they consider buying student loans with buying a house overseas. I mean, that's outside of my pay grade of buying a house overseas. I'll tell you that. So good luck on that journey. All right, guys. We are still going to keep going here. We've been going for quite a bit, but I'm having so much fun answering you guys' questions. So first off, if you don't know, my name is Robert, founder of The College Investor. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I see new people trickling in all the time, and I love it. We are doing a Lunch and Learn live. It's coming up to lunchtime on the West Coast, so hopefully you're enjoying your lunch and also watching and dropping any student loan or financial aid questions you have. This week's chat is sponsored by Student Choice. They are a student loan lender that has an education line of credit. They work with over 200 credit unions to offer this product. You can create one application, and then you could draw down on it for all 4 years of college. It's a really great product, and it's a supplement to federal loans. Remember, student borrows their federal loan first, and then you can look at private loan options like Student Choice's education line of credit. If you're curious, hit the link in bio and check it out. And guys, keep dropping your questions in the chat. I'm really enjoying answering them here, and we will keep doing it. Do I discuss those 4 direct loans with FHA or Mahila about why they don't qualify? You always call your loan servicer, Kimberly, or if you want to DM me, we can take a look at your loan listing and see if I can see it on your screen. Leah, she said her school overpromised her something about being able to get a job in her field. I don't know who said that, but that is potentially a case for borrower defense to repayment. I will tell you that borrower defense to repayment is rare. It's a long shot, and being said something and having documented proof of it are 2 different things. And so just be mindful of that if that's something that you are considering. Cool. What do we got going on here? Right. I accepted an HRA grant and want to know if it makes sense to put the entire amount towards my student loan. Very nice to you. I mean, it really, it can be, or it would be wise to invest or use it as a down payment for the house. I guess it really depends what's your goal with your student loans. And then are you employed in public service? Very nice. You were so early in the chat. I've already forgotten a lot of the story there, but, if you are already qualified for something like public service loan forgiveness, I would maximize that, and I would use the grant to better the rest of my financial life. If you're not getting something like public service loan forgiveness and you're just going to have to repay those loans just normally, well then the HRA grant can go a long way to helping you get that done as fast as possible. Kind of 2 stories there, and you got to kind of decide the best path forward. To me, it's always just a math game and a time value of money game, right? So the earlier you can start investing, the better, but every day is your student loans are working against you on that front. But if you're getting your student loans forgiven, that's cool. Do that route. So it's just kind of math. How can I find what my current payment count is towards forgiveness? D, are we talking about PSLF, or are we talking about time-based loan forgiveness related to your IBR repayment plan? Because PSLF is super easy. You just log into studentaid.gov. Your banners are like right here on the side of the screen. If you are talking about time-based IBR, which you are, thank you, I just saw your comment drop in, that is not on studentaid.gov yet. It's probably not going to get on studentaid.gov again until 2027. My estimate, not theirs. But you can download the MyAid TXT file. So if you go into MyAid, you click my TXT or MyAid TXT file. It's like right here. You download it, and you can open up the text file and search for qualifying payment count, all one word, qualifying payment count. And it'll have a listing of your qualifying payment counts next to each individual loan on your MyAid TXT file. So that'll help you find it if you're looking for it. Also, my friend Stanley Tate, Tate Esquire, Tate ESQ, he's a student loan lawyer. Might see his YouTube channel around. He built a cool little tool on his website where you could drag and drop the file and it reads it for you. So, Leah, can you make payments while in military deferment, and does interest stop? So yes, you can always make payments while you're in deferment on a private student loan for Sally Mae. And does interest stop? I always forget the rules for the Military Service Act request. I don't know if it stops, but I do think it's capped. You'd have to check that out. This is the Civil Service Rights Act. Is it Civil Service Rights Act? There's a whole separate set of rules for military members that are on military deployment. If they're not on deployment or anything, then no, those rules don't apply. Dawn, my daughter has $250K in private student loans. Monthly payment is $2,800, which none of us can afford, and she is studying for the NCATs and is taking time off for it. Dawn, I don't know what private student loan lender you have, but almost all of them offer deferments, and they offer grace periods for exactly that, medical MCAT and medical residency. So you need to have her contact her loan servicer and say that she's studying for the NCATs, and then she's going to go into medical residency, and she would like to see what deferment options they offer her for that. So, yeah. What if the school was closed down due to fraud? KP. So you can file borrower defense application. So there's a student loan forgiveness program called Borrower Defense to Repayment. But because the school was closed down does not necessarily mean that you individually were defrauded by said school. And so there's no necessarily blanket forgiveness here. You would have to fill out the borrower defense application. There is a great organization called the Project on Predatory Lending, or Project on Predatory Lending, I think. And they have some great guides on how to fill it out. So you did fill that out. With that being said, as you know, the odds of you actually getting your loans forgiven are slim to none. So my fingers are crossed for you. They are. But Leah, if I get married, will my IBR payments go up if I file jointly instead of separate? Forgot what you said. If you file your taxes jointly, it uses your joint income. So yes, your student loan payments could be higher. However, if you file separately, your taxes could be higher. So you have to do the trade-offs between the two. Oh man, Don, you've gone through the deferment. That's a long time. Like, Don, I don't know what to say for you and your child at this point in time, but like if you've gone through the deferments and grace periods 4 years, usually now for these loans, for medical graduate school loans, like there's something else here that's a problem when it comes to this that you need to dive into. And I'm sorry that you're in that situation, but it's time to get transparent with your child on, are they actually going to make it into middle school? What's the plan? How have you exhausted 2 to 4 years of grace periods? Why haven't you passed the MCATs? You don't get to just keep taking time off from this. And then make a plan on what the goal is. Maybe it's time for her to just get herself to work, and something's wrong with the dream of medical school. I hate that in my heart. But if you've already been in grace periods and deferments for that long that you're exhausted them all, that tells me it's been 2 to 4 years. And so there's a real problem with why the said person's not getting into medical school. Mason, I applied for IBR today from SAVE. Hopefully it'll be approved in time. You should be fine. It's going to get approved probably within the next 7 to 14 days. I did file that. It was grant embezzlement. I hear you, KP. Again, I would put that that would be my lotto ticket, but I wouldn't make a plan around the borrower defense application for my financial situation. I would fingers crossed and hope. But at the same time, it's rare. And then the time too, right? Jackie, should I cancel my request to consolidate a plus if it gets close to the deadline and it hasn't been completed? I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't change anything. It's like if it's completed in time, you're good. If it's completed after, you're in the same position you would have been had it not been completed at all. So, there's no reason to. You just got to give it that shot and hope it gets done. Even if it gets done on June 29th, you don't want to be the one calling and completing it, canceling it on June 27th, and it would have been approved the next day. It's kind of like, if it gets done, you're good. If it doesn't get done, you're no worse off. Midnight Fantasy, I'm on the SAVE plan. Which should I change? I have been with the government for 11 years. So Midnight Fantasy, if you've been with the government, thank you, Jackie. If you've been with the government 11 years, you should be going for public service loan forgiveness. It's a separate program from your repayment plan, and you need to go certify all of your years of employment right now. Do it after this live. You have 9 payments left. Well, then, Midnight Fantasy, you should be on IBR. What are you doing? You would have been done already. My gosh, potentially. So you should be on IBR today. It's not even a question. SAVE killed you. You should be mad that you stayed in SAVE that long. Go apply to IBR at this very moment in time and get done. Just get it done. You'll at least be done in early next year. But literally IBR right now. Just IBR. It's okay. You're almost on the home stretch. Let's get this thing done. What about borrower defense? What about it? Are you? We'll see what RU's message is on borrower defense. And we will keep going here. All right. Oh, Neo's mama, I missed your thing here. Do you have any recommendations on where to apply for scholarships? Here's the thing with scholarship applications is that you have the big national search websites, Scholarships 360, FastWeb, Sally has one, Scholarship Owl. You have these big places to search for scholarships, but all those are extremely competitive. And some of them, especially any that are no applications, are more like lotteries than they are scholarships. Now, it doesn't hurt to apply, because especially if they're just a few clicks and you can apply, but you have to realize they're just lotteries. The best scholarships you're going to find are going to be localized ones, niche ones, identity group ones, unions and trade organizations and things that are really in your field that might not be publicized on these major search websites. If this is for a high schooler, really good guidance counselors sometimes have local organizations like a Rotary Club or the car dealership in town or who knows that have scholarships. I would also encourage sports organizations. Like I said, your employer, your parents' employer, family employers, unions, trade groups, things like that, that might not be as publicized, and those are the best. If your child is going into a specific industry or niche, sometimes those industry groups have them. If you have some type of identity group affiliation, sometimes those types of groups might have them to advance people. So those are the types of scholarships that you actually have. They're harder to find, but you have a better likelihood of getting them. So hopefully that helps. D, when we change payment plans, do we get new interest rates, or are they based on today's rates, or do we keep our original? So D, your interest rate was based on the student loan interest rate the day you borrowed that loan back in whenever it was. Changing repayment plans doesn't change your underlying interest rate at all on your student loans. And remember, for income-driven repayment plans, your interest rate doesn't even play a factor in your payment. Your payment's based on your income. Your interest rate only plays a factor on standard repayment plans where you're trying to fully pay off your loans. RU, what if the monthly payment is too high? Will they adjust it? So RU, there's no adjusting it. You can apply for IBR or RAP. Those are income-driven repayment plans, and they will set your monthly payment as a percentage of your income. The most you could pay is 10% under RAP, and that's only if you make $100,000 or more a year. If you make less than that, I mean, you could be all the way down to $10 or $0 a month. And so the question becomes, if you can't afford that, where is the other 90 to 98% of your money going every single month? And how do we look at the rest of the budgeting picture to make this all fit in? That's also why I strongly encourage you to run the numbers now, because if you're in Save specifically, you don't have to change for a couple months, and you can make a good plan today so that you're ready come August or September to handle that extra bit. Tactical I applied for IBR and got immediately placed in forbearance through the overwhelming amount of applications. No, that's just the common practice, Tactical So you submit your application, your IBR, you get that notice, and then most of them are processed within 7 to 12, 14 business days. Last week, I saw a dozen of them. You get that notice, and then literally a day or two later, it's like you're enrolled in your repayment plan. I don't know when you applied. And if it hasn't been in the last 6 months, those old processing forbearances from the prior year are basically being tossed out. And so it's not what you're saying. I get it that you're placed in the forbearance, but you might be surprised here that in the next 7 to 14 days, that just is processing. So, and you are welcome. Man, guys, we are at the 2-hour mark, and we are just reaching lunchtime on the West Coast. And so if you are just joining us, I see new people trickling in. Kimberly, you've been with me for a while here now. I love it. If you are just joining us, my name is Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor, and I talk about higher education, personal finance, and more here at The College Investor. You can go to thecollegeinvestor.com, and you can read our articles, listen to our podcasts, and I hope you subscribe and follow our channel here. This week's Lunch and Learn Live is sponsored by Student Choice Student Loans. They are a group of over 200 credit unions that bring you a really cool product called an education line of credit. It's designed to help one application. You can borrow for all 4 years. Of course, this is after you take out the federal student loans. This should be a supplement. It should not be the primary. And please, please, please make sure you do the math on how much student loan debt you can afford, like I beg you. But I saw one today, guys, and someone was going to borrow over $80,000 in student loan debt just for this year, and their child had already borrowed the $5,500. And I was like, I see a lot of high balances, but typically never for undergraduate. And if they actually carried through with that, they would probably borrow close to $350,000 for a bachelor's degree. And that would probably put them at the highest bachelor's degree level I've ever seen. I've seen in the $1 million loan balances, 700, 800, 900. They're all graduate school. They're never just bachelor's degrees. And I'm just like, what are you thinking? And I worry that people don't necessarily think through that decision before they make it. And I think a lot of parents have a hard time telling their kids no. Like mom and dad aren't going to borrow $350,000 for you to go to a college and party and do different things. So, all right. If you guys are just joining us, drop your questions in the chat. Here, put this in here. Let's see. It's all private student loans, Neo's mama. And I think that's the thing is if you federally, the new Parent Plus loan limits are $20,000 a year, $65,000 in total. And when you combine the Parent Plus loan with the undergraduate limits, you could still borrow $92,000 for a bachelor's degree. That's plenty. The value of a bachelor's degree in America today is only $80,000. So you already are overpaying, even if you go to the limits. So borrowing that much is wild, but it's like many things in life, Neo's mama, is, the cool thing about being an American is that you can make bad financial choices. You have the freedom to do so. I don't think you should, but you're more than welcome to. D, IBR versus ICR. So ICR is going away in 2 years. Or a year and a half, really. IBR will be the payment that carries forward. ICR typically has a higher payment than IBR too. The only people that should consider ICR are Parent Plus loan borrowers that need to stop an ICR and make a payment before they move to IBR. Otherwise, there's no reason really to enroll in the ICR repayment plan. All right. Let's see who's still getting some people trickling in through this. Now we are slowing down, but that's okay. Let's keep at this for a little bit. If you're just joining us, I see some people coming back in through. D, I'm wondering if you even have a Parent Plus loan or you're just wondering. And then welcome Dr. JN and Tim and Tam. Tonell, no, I don't. Yeah, so if you don't have a Parent Plus loan, D, like ICR is not even one that you care about. The 4 loans that don't qualify came from Texas Guaranteed Student Loan Corp. Is that an issue? Yeah, so that's a nonprofit lender from the state of Texas. It's not a federal student loan, Kimberly. That's why they don't qualify for PSLF. Those might be extremely old FFEL loans. Did you by any chance borrow from before 2007? Or did you take these nonprofit loans out as a supplement sometime along the way? Because that is a private nonprofit lender in Texas. See, I'm so glad I found this channel, getting a lot of great info so I can switch out of save plan. Hey, thank you. We are here for you. Doctor, do all plans count spousal income? Currently in save and weighing out my choices. Yeah, so when you say all plans, it's really 2 plans. It's IBR and RAP. You have the standard plan as well, but the standard plan just pays off your loan based on your loan balance. For the 2 income-driven repayment plans, IBR and RAP, both of them count your spousal income if you file married filing jointly. And then both of them, of course, will separate it if you file married filing separately because it will just take your separate income. So hopefully that helps. Mariana, I'm currently in school and they have me making a payment next month. What do I do? So Mariana, if you are in school at least half time, you can request to go back into in-school deferment. You have to be at least half time. And if they have not picked up your half-time enrollment yet, you can call your loan servicer and request the in-school deferment form, and you can kind of do it the manual way to go back on it. I would also make sure that you're back in school at least half-time and that your school has reported it. Yes, I'm actually more than half-time. Okay, so what your lender uses is called the National Student Loan or National Student Clearinghouse, and it's like a data set, and your school reports your enrollment status, and then your lender sees that. So for whatever reason, they're not seeing your enrollment status. So you call your lender and request in-school deferment because you're more than half-time. And if they can't get that status updated, you'll have a manual form you fill out. That's like a deferment form. You write your name, and I think you have to have your school sign off on it. So just be ready for that. Boo. All right. D, does it make sense that the estimated standard payment is lower than IBR? Yeah, D, if you have a low student loan balance and a decent income, totally could be the case. So a lot of people have low student loan balances. And once your income gets to a certain point and your loan balance is low enough, like you just end up paying it off. It's important to realize that your IBR payment will cap at your standard plan payment. So you don't have to worry about that. $62,000, that's a mid-range loan. That's not low. Then I would also estimate if your IBR payment is significantly higher, you're probably making good money, which is part two of the equation, right? So yeah, Kim relates to those Texas. You can Google it, Texas Guaranteed Student Loan Corp. Those are nonprofit student loan lender from Texas, so that's why that's there. Calculator. 62 current balance, 62,000. D, high cost of living area. I don't see that though. So if you're 80K adjusted gross income, current balance is 62, and you're a family size of 1, I track your RAP plan as being the best choice for you at 467 as your payment at $80,000 a year in income with no kids. And that's lower than what the tiered standard and even the 10-year standard would be. So I don't know what your goal is. To me, I'm seeing RAP come up on an $80,000. Your RAP payment would be $467 on the new RAP plan that comes out. I don't know if you're using the loan estimator on studentaid.gov. I don't think RAP is in it yet. Could be already. They keep adding to it, but I would venture if you run the RAP calculator. Welcome, Kelly and Tony, CUMBE, JK, Tastatic. I don't know. Welcome, guys. If you're just joining us, we are doing a Lunch and Learn Q&A. Erica, welcome. Drop your questions in the chat. We will talk about them. We've been going for a little while now, but we are still having a great time answering your questions, and we'll probably go for another 45 minutes or so to get through the West Coast people's lunches. Always hard to do a lunch and learn all time zones. So you're welcome. Oh, this is fun. I was like, what is going on social media? And it's like, oh, the Undersecretary of Education's tweeting out our podcast from today. That's fun. What else do we got going here? All right. Julio, welcome. Pedro, welcome. If you guys haven't liked, subscribed, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow. That is how you will stay updated on the latest, especially as all these changes go into effect. Let's see here. My California Love, welcome. Arthur, welcome. I always like, as soon as we try to end it, it's when everyone drops their questions in. So we're going to give it some time and we'll see what we got while we are checking the world, seeing what's happening out there. Yeah, see, we can go over the RAP plan again. Great idea. All right. So the RAP plan is the Repayment Assistance Plan. It launches on July 1st. The big thing with the RAP plan is that it sets your monthly payment as a percentage of your adjusted gross income. Minimum payment is $10 a month. Maximum payment will be 10% of your AGI if you make over $100,000 a year. It stair steps up in 1% increments. So if you make 50,000, it's 5%. If you make 70,000, it's 7%. As D said, D made $80,000 there just a minute ago, and his payment would have been $80,000. His payment is $467 a month. It would be 8% of his adjusted gross income. With that being said, there's a couple benefits. One is they take off $50 a month for every eligible dependent. So I'm assuming D had no kids. If he had kids or she had kids, it would be lower. Part two is there's no negative amortization. So if your monthly payment does not cover all the interest, they will forgive the unpaid interest. And so, see, you saw some of these people saying in the chat, like their loan balance was so much higher, even though they've been making payments for 10 years. That can't happen on the RAP plan moving forward, as long as you're keeping making your payments every month. Number three is there is the principal reduction subsidy. So if your monthly payment doesn't go to anything to the principal, they will match your monthly payment up to $50 a month to take that off your principal. So theoretically, assuming you're paying at least $50 a month, your loan balance will always go down by at least $50 every single day, every single month on the RAP plan. But there's a trade-off, right? Nothing is all roses. The trade-off is if you were to remain in the RAP plan, the timeline is extended to 30 years. So right now, if you were on IBR is 20 or 25 years, depending on when you borrowed. And so the RAP plan extends that to 30 years. You have to realize, too, that they are counting on you to make more money in the future. That's just what happens statistically, see, is that you're going to make more money in the future. You know, you start at 20 or even your 30s, and then you start getting to your 40s and you get into your mid-career and you're making good money. Well, by extending out that timeline, they're counting on capturing more of your good money earning years. And most people probably won't get forgiveness, but it could still be the right payment plan for you. It's PSLF eligible, all the things. My California Love says, where do we start to apply for my son to get a college loan? Hey, great question, My California Love. So you start with the FAFSA. If you haven't done the FAFSA yet, you go to studentaid.gov, you fill out the FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid. That unlocks federal student loans. And you should always start with your federal student loans first. If you've done the FAFSA, your son will see the loan on his financial aid award. It will be listed $5,500. It might have some subsidized, some unsubsidized, but it's $5,500. You accept that first, and if you still need to borrow more beyond that, you have to look at either private loans or Parent Plus loans. And so our sponsor of today's episode is Student Choice. They're a private student loan lender that's backed by a network of credit unions, and they will connect you with a network of up to 200 credit unions to shop for private loans. So check them out, but you should shop and compare. If you can get a lower interest rate on a private student loan than the Parent Plus loan, which is 9% this year, you should take the private loan. But you have the Parent Plus loan there as the backstop. So that's always exists at 9%. That does cap at $20,000 a year. If you're trying to borrow more than what I just said, $5,000 and $20,000, you got to find a new college. Like, you're paying too much for college. So hopefully that helps. My California love. Kimberly, I Googled them and they state they manage loans that are in default. I don't think you've actually been in default. I think that these are the Texas nonprofit student loans. So check them out and go see. A lot of these lenders, you have to realize, do like 7 different things. And so they might have some default collections too. But I also think that you just have the nonprofit student loans from the Texas Higher Education Loan Corporation or whatever. Medretta, I think that's what that says. So much cursive. What happened with the private student loans to international students like Empower? They still exist. Empower is a private student loan borrower. You got Prodigy. Earnest offers student loans to visa holders. Emretta, those still exist just fine. I don't know quite what your question is as it relates to that. I will say that international students are having other issues besides the lending aspect of things in terms of visas and whatnot, but that aspect I don't think is as much of an issue. But they don't work. They don't accept anyone because of a new law. I don't know about that. I'm still seeing plenty of people getting approved for them, but I will say that they are very strict on their lending standards, and they have continued to be strict, especially if there's any visa uncertainty with your own situation. Basically, they want to ensure that you're going to be here in the United States if they're going to lend to you. All right. Welcome, HS, and it's me, Alicia. Welcome, Ange and Aviv. So my school said private loans don't work for now because of a new law for federal student loans. Emretta, again, then your school's doing something, or they are in jeopardy of losing their eligibility for private student loans. Your school is not telling you something, but there's no impact on that, and there's no new law that is changing international students' borrowing ability for private student loans. There's plenty of new laws for federal student loans that affect graduate students and other things, but not when it comes to private borrowing. Welcome, Guitars and Pizzas, and 33 Lisa M. Kikes, welcome back. I think you've been on our lives before. And Ange, welcome. Guys, we've been going for quite a while, but I love seeing the new faces trickle in. If you guys have questions on your student loans, financial aid, saving and paying for college, you are in the right spot. We have a great sponsor for this week's Lunch and Learn, Student Choice Student Loans. They are a group of nonprofit credit unions that offer... I should say nonprofit. They're a group of credit unions that offer private educational line of credit, which is a very unique product. You can do one application and borrow all 4 years, get a drawdown every single year. Really makes things easy and convenient for families. So if that's interesting to you, My California Love, I know that was interesting to you. Check it out, link in bio. And then otherwise, we are still answering your student loan and financial aid questions. Thanks for following. And if you guys haven't liked, subscribed, please do. Always goes a long way. Tap that screen, throw some hearts down. The hearts let TikTok know that we are still live and we are going. And yeah. It's me, Alicia. My daughter has all direct loans on Save, no future loans, low income, which is better, wrap or IBR. Honestly, it's me, Alicia. Run the calculators. We have a free calculator link in bio. Put in the information and then decide which one offers the lower payment. I will say if she's already made payments under IBR is probably going to be the more compelling option simply because it's got a 20-year timeline for forgiveness, not a 30-year timeline like WRAP does. So, but if the payment difference is compelling, which it might be, I don't know, you got to do what you got to do each month to make sure that you have the lowest payment possible. So run the calculator. My first instinct's IBR. But again, your mileage may vary by your student loan payments. So, all right. Christina, welcome. Brian, welcome. So will my qualifying loans still come off for PSLF, although I have those 4 private loans? Yeah. So Kimberly, your timeline for your eligible loans for PSLF will still be the same. You just got to figure out what the heck's going on with those private nonprofit loans and get that resolved. So yes, your PSLF though for your other ones, no issue. Kike, can I pay student loans with a credit card? Generally no, but I know there are some services where you can like link it up, but they charge a fee. And so I don't really think there's any benefit to doing so. I can't think of the name of that service, but there was one where you could pay like your mortgage and like basically use your credit card to do bill pay and they send it off. But Quike, that's just silly. And Kimberly, of course, I'm excited for your regular PSLF, but you go troubleshoot these Texas loans because you don't want that dragging you down. If you're just joining us, Rosita and Julio, welcome. We are just enjoying a little lunch and learn Q&A. We've been going for a couple hours now, but if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat and we will keep going for probably another 20, 30 minutes just to get through the West Coast lunchtime and go from there. My sporty era, welcome. And Emily, welcome. All right. What do we got? We got some more folks trickling in. I love it. Darius, welcome. Ooh, yeah. Thanks for the hearts, guys. Let's boost this live back up. Sophia, welcome. You guys drop your questions in the chat if you got them. Let's see if... Nathan, do you get penalized for paying in full? What do you mean by that, Nathan? Like you want to pay off your whole student loan? Yeah, that's awesome. No, there's absolutely no penalty. There's no prepayment penalties. There's no early penalties. There's no penalties for paying off your student loan in full at all. It's a fantastic thing to do for your financial picture, boost your credit score in the long run. Like fantastic thing to do. The only thing I would question is if it's like the best optimal route, if you have any type of student loan repayment assistance programs available to you or things like that. I also wouldn't do it at the expense of like missing out on other free money, 401k, 403b matches. But if you're ready to rock and roll and pay them off, like I've never met anyone that's regretted doing so. It's a great feeling. So. Kike says, how long can I defer my loans for? It really depends on the type of deferment that you are looking for and are qualified for. For example, you can go back on in-school deferment and you can keep deferring them as long as you're in school half time. Other types of deferments come in 12 months intervals, like unemployment deferments, and then you only have a max of 3 years for that. I will tell you that generally deferring is a bad option, especially compared to income-driven repayment plans, especially if you're trying to defer due to a financial hardship. Enrolling in an income-driven repayment plan is the better approach for most people. This doesn't apply to you, Quike, but new borrowers will also have their deferments limited. They're eliminating almost all these types of hardship deferments and everything starting in 2027. It's not something we talk about a lot because it doesn't impact anybody yet, but that's coming where people can't just keep deferring for long periods of time. Income-driven repayment plans will be the option. So. Brian says, is there a downside to verifying your income through pay stubs? So Brian, the downside is when you use the alternative method like pay stubs, they always use your gross, very top line. They don't use your AGI or your net income. And so if you do things like contribute to your 401k or 403b, you don't get credit for it by using your pay stubs. You need to use your tax returns to take advantage of that. And so generally, using the alternative method with pay stubs gives you a higher payment, all things created equal, than your tax return. The only reason you want to use your pay stubs is if your income on the gross level is lower than what your AGI was on your most recent tax return. That's the only time you want to use your pay stubs, because otherwise you're giving yourself an artificially higher payment than you would normally have using your tax returns. But if your income has gone down, right, even though it's higher than it should be, it's a win versus what it was. And if you're unemployed, you could have a $0 payment, so it's a definite win. But you're telling me you have a pay stub, so that's not you. So that's the downside. Only use it if your income is lower. That's the rule. All right. Now we're getting some folks back in here. We just had a huge group come in. Welcome, guys, if you're just joining us. My name's Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor, and I have been talking about student loans, personal finance now for nearly 20 years. If you have questions about your student loans, financial aid, saving or paying for college, drop them in the chat. We're going to talk about them probably for the next 20 minutes or so. So join us. And then, Brian, you're welcome. I hope that helps. If pay and wrap will be around the same, which is better? Pay is better. And the reason for that, remember, is, well, one, pay is ending. So I'd also ask if your IBR is the same. So really the question becomes, is IBR or wrap better? because Pay and IBR have a shorter repayment plan timeline than RAP does. And so, depending on how many years of qualifying payments you have already, you might be a good chunk of the way there with Pay and IBR versus waiting for that 30-year mark for RAP. And so, you might as well be done 5 to 10 years sooner. All right. Welcome, Brian and Jessica. And Sarah Pressure. Love pancakes. If I'm undersaved, do I have to switch to another plan by July? So it's not by July, love pancakes. It's starting in July. You're going to get your notice that you have to switch. So, love pancakes, I made a video on this today, but July 1st is when the notifications start going out that you're going to get a 90-day deadline to enroll in a new repayment plan. Everyone's going to get their own individualized 90-day deadline. You should still plan on it being pretty darn close to July because it's going to be like July 1st, July 5th, July 10th, July 15th, so on and so forth. And they're going to move people through to choose a new repayment plan. That being said, you should know your options right now. Go IBR, RAP, standard. And then part 2 is if you're going for public service loan forgiveness. Yeah, Mohila emailed you twice because that's the warning. Like you need to do it. Because part 2 is if you're going for public service loan forgiveness, there's not even a question. You should just be an IBR today. And honestly, depending on your financial goals and your ability to repay, you're splitting hairs. Choose now, choose next week, choose next month. Like it's coming. So, but now's the time to make a plan, love pancakes. We have our calculators. Other people have calculators. Go check them out. But it's not July 1st. It's starting July 1st. Poodle. The 20-year forgiveness under Pay grandfathered in when moving to IBR, or does it become 25 years? So if you are an old borrower, so again, those 2011 to 2014 Pay folks, it becomes 25 years. So it's funny, no one in Pay will ever get forgiveness except for the 125 people that got enrolled in Pay accidentally. Nobody else under Pay is eligible for forgiveness under Pay. You have to move to IBR, and then your IBR forgiveness count will be based on, are you an old IBR or a new IBR? Pre-2014, post-2014. So love pancakes. If you're going for PSLF right now, you should be an IBR today. You can't go back in time, but get it done. Like just get on IBR and rock and roll. So you're old. No, Poodle, it's when you first borrowed, right? So if your first loan ever in history was before 2014, you are an old borrower for IBR. So that means you're 25 years for all of it across the board. So when Pay ends, you're going to a 25-year IBR deal. I know, that sucks. There's like about 500,000 people that are in your same boat. I know that's not a consolidation prize or anything, but you're not alone. Other daughter has direct loans. Possible future nurse. Going for PSLF, IBR. It's me, Alicia. IBR. If you're going for public service loan forgiveness, it's IBR or RAP. Those are your two options. If she's still borrowing, like if she's going to borrow a loan after July 1st, it will only be RAP will be her option for PSLF. Hope and Healing. I've been paying since 2005. I owe $20K. So Hope and Healing, there's two thoughts I have on that. So number one, $20,000 is an exceptionally low student loan balance. Like there is a good chance that just simply repaying your student loan is the right option for you. There's also IBR, right? So you can continue on income-based repayment. I'm guessing that you have been in and out of income-based repayment since 2005, which is why, yeah, so you've already paid off $110,000. You're on the home stretch of getting it done. I would venture that a lot of scenarios just lead to paying it off, especially given that's where you started. And then, of course, you have IBR of just income-based repayment, but that might set you backwards on your trajectory here of being done. Like you've already done 80%, 85% of the work. Like you just need to finish that thing off. Tracy, how do I find out how many payments I have credit for? So if you're talking time-based loan forgiveness, you're not going to see it on the dashboard until next year. It's going to be in your My Aid file. And if you're looking for PSLF, it's in the sidebar of your student aid. Hope and healing. I don't know what to tell you on that one. You'll feel better when it's all gone. I promise you that one. Raphael, when I try to sign up for IBR, my payment is just $50, but me and my wife makes $130. There's a glitch in the system, Raphael, where everybody was getting a $50 monthly payment. Run the student loan calculator, know what your payment's actually going to be, and you're going to get an updated letter probably in the next week or two when they actually enroll you correctly. But yeah, that was a big glitch that we saw, that everyone was just getting auto-generated for $50 payments. Jess, I want to retire in 7 years, so PSLF is not in the cards for me, right? Well, Jess, it sounds like your daughter just graduated and you have a Parent Plus loan. The bigger thing that's not in the cards for you is if you have not consolidated all your Parent Plus loans, you can't access PSLF anyways. The only way a Parent Plus loan borrower can access PSLF is to consolidate by June 30th, but it's June 10th, and I don't think you're able to do that in time if you haven't already started. If you've already consolidated, you can enroll in IBR, and you can at least get 7 years to PSLF and decide if you want to do the last 3 or if you just want to not and just pay. But if you have not consolidated and you don't have access to PSLF, if you haven't consolidated, you will repay under standard, and you're just going to have to repay under standard until the loans are repaid. Tracy, what happens in 2 years if I stay on pay as you earn? You're going to get notices just like everybody's getting for the Save Plan forbearance, and you're going to have to choose a new repayment plan. You're going to have to choose IBR or RAP. Not a big deal. You can enjoy your pay. What we've heard is it's going to be in the end of 2027 or early 2028. You're going to get your notices. You're going to get a timeline, probably 90 days, just like we're doing for Save, to enroll in a new repayment plan, or they're going to default you into the standard plan. So just be aware, enjoy your time, but it's going to end in a year and a half or so. All right, guys, we are on the home stretch here. We have been going. My goal today was to do a 3-hour live with you guys. I wanted to cover every time zone's lunch and learn. So we got 20 minutes left. And if you have not dropped your question in the chat, now is the time to do so, because I know you guys always drop them right when I say I'm going to finish this thing up. So drop them in the chat. With that being said, if you don't know who I am, I'm Robert. I'm the founder of The College Investor, and I have been talking about student loans, financial aid, and personal finance since 2009. This week's Lunch and Learn Live is sponsored by Student Choice. They are a group of credit unions that offer an education line of credit, and it's designed to be one application, and you can draw down on that education line of credit for all 4 years of college. It's a super cool product, and it's a great way to supplement after your private or your federal student loans. So if you are in the paying for college mindset, which I know there's a few of you there, check it out. Link in bio, get a quote. Tanya, I don't know what you need to, but drop your question in the chat if you need to drop a question in the chat. And if you're just joining us, guys, I see Ragna and Lolo and Aisha, Bilem. Welcome, guys. And we're going to keep answering some questions here for a few more minutes. All right. Homemade worth it. Welcome. Bridget, welcome. Rachel, welcome. Now's the time to drop your questions. What is a good alternative for fall 2026 instead of a federal Parent Plus loan? Tonya, that is exactly what Student Choice is there for. So go click the link in bio and get a quote. Once you borrow the student's federal student loans, you should compare private student loans and see if you can beat that 9% Parent Plus loan rate. If you get a lower interest rate than that federal Parent Plus loan, it's better to go private because of all the changes to the federal Parent Plus loans. And that's where Student Choice is sponsoring this, but you can also get other quotes as well and see if you can get a better option. You always have the Parent Plus loan as the like kind of last resort if you need it. But again, if you don't need it, I'd hate to see you take that 9% loan when you could get something a lot better. Welcome, Angel and Veronica. And Robin, welcome. I always wonder if someone's just typing away. I always feel bad if I'm going to try to end the live. Tracy, so can I stay and pay for now and switch to wrap next year? You can absolutely do that, Tracy. I would recommend if time-based loan forgiveness is your plan, that you would go to IBR and not wrap, okay? Because you've probably already got years of payments underpay. And if you go to IBR, you'd be at 20 or 25 years before your loans are forgiven. If you enroll in WRAP, it's 30 years until your loans are forgiven. So my gut feeling is that IBR is going to be the better choice for you, but run the numbers, do the math, and make sure you check and compare both options. So... welcome, Barbara. All right. Welcome, Ava and Joe. Everyone's slowing down here at the end. Tracy, I'm at 19 years, few years of deferment. Then yeah, you should definitely be going at IBR. You shouldn't even be looking at WRAP. Like, why are you going to extend your repayment timeline 5 years? I can't imagine that the difference in WRAP to IBR, the payment, is that significant that 5 more years is a savings, right? So that's kind of the math. The way I think about it, Tracy, is that if you got 5 years under IBR, it's going to be $10,000. Or if you have to go 10 more years under WRAP, it'll be $20,000. So even if the WRAP payment was lower, just because you have 5 extra years of time, it's significantly costlier overall. So that's my hunch. Of course, got to do your own math. But for you, it's not just the monthly payment, but I would be looking at the total cost of repayment, because those 5 extra years are 5 more years of payments, and that's a lot of money. Welcome, Christelle and Lily. Now's the time to drop your last questions in the chat, guys. We've been going for almost 3 hours here. So we are winding this thing down, but I want to make sure we answer all your questions, and we're going to get to that 3-hour mark for sure. So we'll keep going. Tracy, you're welcome. I'm glad you feel a lot better. But yeah, you get to enjoy your pay for another year and a half, and then just pick your right plan at that point in time. Hi, Khaleesi, welcome. All right. And if you guys haven't checked out today's video, and we're going to be posting some clips of our interview with the Undersecretary of Education, you can go check out our podcast today. If you need some listening on student loan changes, that was fun to have them on our podcast, and we will be dropping the clips here as well. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed, please like, subscribe, and follow. And of course, we have our newsletter, our podcast, and all of our tools linked in bio. Poodle, thank you so much for your questions. That's the goal, to be very helpful. We got a few more minutes here. We're gonna take it to the full end. Tony, welcome. Kelsey, I guess, welcome. All right. All right, guys, we're getting close to the mark. If you guys have any last questions, now's the time to drop them in. And give one last shout out to our sponsor, Student Choice. If you are interested in a education line of credit, great alternative to traditional private student loans that you have to go year by year. And as always, guys, please like, subscribe. Hey, Big Game, welcome. See, this is what always happens. Someone jumps in right on the very last 5-10 minutes, but that's okay. Always like seeing you here, Big Game. And yeah, guys, if you have your question, this is the time to drop it in. All right. Big Game, who are students going to direct their frustration to when OB3 reduces loan amounts? I don't know. I mean, they're already addressing their frustration. Big Game, I don't know if you've seen any individual programs reducing their loan amounts. I don't know if you heard our podcast today. We just dropped our episode with the Undersecretary of Education where I spoke to him about these things. And one of the things that he is kind of most bullish on, it sounds like, is the financial aid offices reducing individual program loan limits. And of course, the reason they're going to reduce the individual program loan limits is so that they can pass the future, what do you call it? Not gainful employment rule anymore, but the new ROI rules. So like, the colleges can now play games that, well, I know like our art majors don't earn any money, but if we only let them borrow $10,000, we can still make the overall work. And so I'm curious on what's going to happen there. They seemed very bullish on that. And yeah, I do think on the graduate school side, I think we will see some more types of qualified employers become professional students. I don't think we're going to see the grad and professional limits change. I think they were badly needed. I just think we might see some additional classifications on the professional side. And I think that's going to come from Congress, though, not from any other type of action. Beach life, is the interest being removed for the forbearance period? No. Interest has started accruing in the save forbearance back in, 2023, 2024 now? It's not being removed. You owe it. We've been telling you, and other people have been telling you, get on a new repayment plan. My fear is that they also update the Pell with the same ROI rules. I mean, there's still the risks that colleges lose all Title IV aid in general. And so, like, I do think that they're going to just go after all Title IV aid in general for certain colleges. But again, you have to think about the colleges that they're going after. It's almost no public university generally fails the rules for bachelor's degrees. It's a few graduate programs, even at public colleges, a lot of graduate programs at private colleges, and then the certificate programs. And so I do think we're going to see a big pivot, though, from these certificate programs that are going to fail on their regular certificate program. They're going to switch to Workforce Pell, and they're going to take advantage of the 8 to 15 week Workforce Pell rules as they pivot away from other aspects of education. I also think not as much talked about, too big game, we're getting wonky here, I like it, is the new AIM, the accreditation rules. So we touched on it when you get to the end of the podcast, the accreditation rules, because part two is they're going after the accreditors, and the accreditors that have connections to trade associations, because, part of the reason that graduate degrees have become so worthless, but they're so expensive, is because for some reason, these state accreditation agencies and licensing agencies require them, and they don't necessarily make you a better practitioner, right? And so the AIM committee rule updates and how they're going after accreditation is hopefully going to eliminate the bar of requiring master's degrees or certain types of certificate programs potentially in certain fields, because they now have to prove, and I don't know all of them. I've so many rule makings, but they have to prove that these degrees actually do add value. You can't just make someone have a master's degree in education to get a promotion as a bar. You have to make sure it adds value to that human being as their lifetime earnings and other stuff. And you can't just do it. You can't have board members be connected to the unions and the other stuff. There's a bunch of rules coming down that pipeline. I don't think that's also talked about enough, is kind of dismantling that system that kind of keeps certain borrower groups in poverty simply because, but it's more of, it's not the college accreditation board. It's more of these what do they call them? The industry licensing boards that are requiring more and more. It's the new, they want to have medical residency be an extra year because the hospitals are lobbying for more training for future doctors. But really the reality is that you just want to pay the doctor $55,000 a year and not $200,000 a year. Or it is the teachers union requiring teachers to have a master's degree after 5 years. Doesn't necessarily make you a better kindergarten teacher, but if you can't teach because you're required to have a master's degree, you have to go get this master's degree. And that's the kind of, it's not the actual like 4-year college accreditation bodies. It's all these little tiny ones that they're going after that are, I forget what they're called. They're like industry accreditation groups. But it's really interesting to see because I think those are the ones that are causing more potential harm. And not a lot of people are aware of all those nuances. I know you're in New York, so New York's one of the ones where it's like these teachers become indentured servants because they went to go get a master's degree that now they can't borrow federally for beyond $41,000, but it's required or else they can't teach. But it also doesn't even make them a better teacher for what they're doing, potentially. Maybe, it does, but for the bulk of them, it's just an arbitrary, it's just arbitrary. So, oh my gosh, guys, we are reaching the 3-hour mark, which was always our goal. Thanks, Big Game, for joining us. If you guys have any last questions, comments, or concerns, drop them in the chat. If you haven't followed, please follow us here at The College Investor. Like, subscribe, and follow. And of course, we will see you next time. We will have our emails, our newsletters, our social media platforms. We are here where you are. And thanks, guys, so much. Oh, see, every time, Haley, you are right here. Any advice for an adult who was 17 when they first took out a federal loan that eventually defaulted, and now I don't get any tax return? Yeah, Haley, you got to get out of default. You're costing yourself so much money. They're taking that tax return from you, and it's not even going to your student loans. It's going to collection costs and fees, and your student loan balance is probably still growing. So, Haley, you got to consolidate or rehabilitate. Consolidation, it's instant. It's 30 to 60 days. You'll get back on track. You enroll in a repayment plan and you start making progress again. Rehabilitation is a better, but it does feel insurmountable. I get it, but rehabilitation takes 9 months and then they remove the default from your credit. The key is, Haley, go run our calculators. Go see what your RAP payment will be if on the Repayment Assistance Plan and understand what your future payment will look like. Because they're going to start regular collection activity here soon too. So you haven't gotten your tax return, but starting this fall, like October, they're going to start wage garnishment. Wage garnishment's 15% of your discretionary income of your paycheck. That's more expensive than you'd pay under a repayment plan. So when you're saying it feels insurmountable, I get it. Just go consolidate or rehabilitate, but that will be cheaper. Why this fall? Because they've not done collection activities on wage garnishments since 2020, and they have moved everything over to the Department of the Treasury, and they're ramping it back up for this fall to have wage garnishments resume. So you're there, and they still take your tax return too. Like, you just start throwing this money away. So when you say it feels insurmountable, I get it, but you're wasting more money being in default than you will just being in a repayment plan. It's crazy to think about, but at least you'll get your tax returns back. And well, not back, but they won't take it going forward. You'll take less of your paycheck when they start when you won't have wage garnishment. You're paying less. It's better. And you can start getting back on the financial track. All right, guys. Well, Haley, I'm glad that was the kickstart you needed. Thanks for being here, guys. And as always, please like, subscribe, and follow, and we will see you next time.